Hey everybody, how are you? Happy Wednesday. Bear with me. I'm still sick, so I am sucking it up. Sucking it up to be here, and so I might have to shut my camera off at certain points because I feel like I got hit by a bus still. I'm doing that hot and cold sweating and the head banging and the whole rigmarole, but I can't really afford to be out. 2 days was a long time, and and there's an important hearing today in the Delgado case. My friend's mom, parts of her remains were located, that they just announced publicly that they confirmed was her. Last year, we knew that remains were found on the side of Route 3, which, if you're not from Massachusetts, is a highway, in the woods on the side of like where the breakdown lane is. And so we questioned back then, could it be one of the 3 missing people that we know of, for the last couple of years. So we got the confirmation yesterday that the remains that they did find on the side of Route 3 were, in fact, Sandra Crispo. Now, if you're not familiar, I don't know what took them so long. The family knew before they announced it to the general public, but if you've never heard me talk about Sandra Crispo's case, Sandra Crispo went missing in 2019. I went to school with Sandra's daughter. Me and my sister helped in doing some searches to try to find Sandra back when she went missing. Her daughter, Lena, is a wonderful person. She's a nurse and a mom, and she deserved answers, right? She deserved answers. And I remember telling her, the last time I talked to her, like, we're going to get answers one way or another, we're going to get answers. There's a lot of things that the public weren't privy to, that I was privy to, obviously, but you try to let the officers do their job. I think there was a lot of giant missteps in Sandra's case early on where the state police could have stepped in and should have stepped in, and they didn't. And the Hanson Police is a very small police department, but I don't think that they could handle the undertaking that Sandra's case needed. And I think part of what hindered investigations into her case, where she didn't have a cell phone, right? She didn't carry her own cell phone. She just had a house phone, and she was originally from Quincy, and she had just bought that house in Hanson just a few months prior to just be closer to her kids and grandkids who live short drive away from there. And at the time, Sandra's car was in the shop. She had no car. So you have to think about, how the hell did Sandra's remains get on the side of Route 3 near the breakdown lane? And, the only thing you really come up with at that point is someone had to have brought her there. Someone had to. I did, yeah. I think they didn't want the I just think they didn't want the public to know right away, because I believe the family knew a while back. It just wasn't confirmed to the public. And I think it was part of their ongoing investigation. But my sister called yesterday, and she doesn't have Twitter, but I had already posted it on Twitter, and my sister called, and she's like, "Oh my God, they found Sandra." And so I remember the last search me and my sister were on. There was a bunch of us, me and Sandra's daughter, and a lot of other people who had done previous searches, and we were searching this one wooded area, sort of park area in Weymouth, which isn't too far away from Plymouth, where they ultimately found parts of her remains. More parts are still missing, of course. And we're going up and down these rocks and hills and climbing and going down the side of the banks and just looking for anything suspicious, because at that point, the police weren't going to search anything until, we find something, essentially, is what they said. Unless we find something like what she was wearing, what you think she was wearing when she left, or some piece of evidence, they won't give you a cadaver dog. This is why I ended up asking you a while back, Leah, about the cadaver dog, because, and this was way, way back. I don't even know if you remember how far back. It was probably, I'd say over a year ago. I remember I was telling you, I have a friend that's, the cops won't give her a cadaver dog. They wouldn't give her the cadaver dog unless she found something. Then they'll give you a cadaver dog. It's like, that's great, but how do you find something without bringing the nose of the dog in a place where you think something might be buried or be, right? And so that was hard. I mean, the family did a billboard, and that is why, because I figured maybe if we could get a cadaver dog ourselves and just go over some of the areas where we suspect maybe she could have been brought or maybe she was at, then maybe we could find even just a piece of evidence that they would then, step back in and give the resources. Because, after you've been missing for like a week or two, maybe a month, they basically are like, yeah, we're not going to do anything anymore. And half of the problem is what family can just sit back and do nothing? Most family or friends are not just going to sit back and do nothing. You know what I mean? You're going to do something. You're going to try to do something. And so we continued searches, obviously, long after the cops weren't doing them anymore. And so we would just mark anything that looked suspicious, and the problem is you're not allowed to like dig up things on public parks, or of course private land, but like public parks, they won't let you like dig. So if you see like a shirt sticking out of the ground, they won't let you dig, So we marked certain places, looked around, and ultimately, didn't find anything that we thought would be pointing to her being there 100%. But it's, to me, telling that only a piece of her skull, and it's like morbid to even talk about, but only a piece of her skull was found. They did do a search after they found that piece, and it doesn't look like they found much more. So where is the rest of her? Was that piece just scavengered by an animal and brought to that location? And where is the rest? And how did she get there? How did she get there? Although it does bring me hope that out of the 2 missing people that I know of and have a connection to, one now has been found. And so it gives me hope that my friend Mickey, his remains can be brought home to his family and he can be found as well. Sandra was gone for over 6 years. So she went missing in 2019. We're now in 2026. Unfortunately, Mickey, it'll be 20 years in September. But he's also missing in Maine, which is vast amounts of woods. You could probably hide a body that nobody will ever find in Maine, which is why I think it's so difficult in finding Mickey and bringing him home. But, his mother, she's getting older, and she also deserves some sort of closure to laying her son to rest, in the same way that Sandra's daughter will at least have some, closure to lay her mother to rest. And my sister was, really happy to hear that she was found. And me and my sister still have these missing posters for Sandra that we periodically will leave in places. We just like recopy them and then periodically leave in places that Sandra's daughter had made. And we got a bunch of them from her at that last search we did, and we just like reprint them and put them out. So it's nice to know that those won't be needed anymore. And hopefully, and obviously I have no idea what the police have for information, but hopefully they can keep going with the investigation and hold somebody accountable for this, because Sandra didn't just walk to Route 3 on her own from Hanson to Plymouth. That didn't happen, I feel like ass pat. I feel like I got hit by a freaking bus still, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. That is how I can feel right now. I feel like I got hit by a goddamn bus. But I'm sucking it up at the moment. I'm glad that, there is some closure that Lena gets for finding her mom, although I do hope that they can find the rest of her and figure out who did this and how she got there, or in that general vicinity. Because even if an animal scavengered and like pulled a piece of the bone or whatever, I feel like it would have had to been brought, far, because they haven't, as far as I understand, haven't found the rest. But at least there's some closure there. Not a lot, but there's at least some. At least knowing, she's somewhere. The reservoir is somewhere. It sucks. Yeah, I gotta suck it up, Pat. I can't. I missed 2 days already, and it's tough when you work for yourself. Unfortunately, I don't get sick time, right? Like when you work for yourself and you do YouTube, you don't get sick time, and you don't get paid to be out, and it's unfortunate because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I had sick time, 40 hours of sick time, I'd be using it right now. That's for sure. The room service guy though did take pretty good care of me. The only thing I've eaten in the last 2 days has been egg on English muffin. That is what I have eaten, and the room service guy makes a pretty good egg whites on English muffin. So that's what he's been making me at my request, and just water, because I can't really hold down anything heavy. And I don't even know. I don't want to think about dinner tonight because I have to figure that out. I don't have the energy or the capacity to be standing there cooking, but I don't have a choice. So that's what I'll do. Although I have no idea what I'm going to make yet. That's another thing. That's another problem for a few hours from now, I guess. But there was a state trooper this morning that passed, and he was among 2 people that died after a wrong way crash here in Massachusetts in Linfield. And the trooper looked fairly young, which is unfortunate. It's really sad. He passed away. He died from his injuries after his cruiser was struck by a wrong way driver on Route 1 in Linfield. It was early in the morning this morning, and the other driver passed as well. So that was horrible news this morning. I don't know the trooper's name, but I do know that I was going to report on it this morning, but I wasn't feeling good enough to be here earlier than I am right now. So I'm putting on my brave face at the moment. And now that I didn't talk about it first, the mainstream media has finally picked it up, although they hadn't when I was informed. When I was informed by a source that a trooper had died this morning, that the mainstream media had not picked up on it yet. And I didn't know if they would. If they didn't, I was going to report on it anyway, because it's like, I mean, that's just sad. It was a wrong way driver, Trooper Kevin Trainer. Thank you, Cats. Yeah, and there's a clip right here.
3 years who died tragically overnight in a wrong way head-on collision in Linfield.
Bad.
The way this played out, he was ending his shift, Trooper Trainer, at 2 o'clock in the morning. At 2:01 a.m., a 911 call came in, a report of a vehicle traveling the wrong way on Route 1 North. So Trooper Trainer headed that way since he was in that area, and it wasn't after
when
that.
I talked to you about it.
3 a.m., yeah. Troopers saw the wrong way car. 2:04 a.m., the Jeep collided head-on with Trooper Trainer's car, and he was brought to Mass General Hospital by ambulance, where
he looks so young.
Instead, the driver died at the scene. That, again, Route 1 in that stretch still closed on the northbound side as they do some reconstruction.
Just terrible.
To figure out what the accident exactly.
He did a funeral escort yesterday.
We already heard from Governor Healy Glenn, who came on, as well as Colonel Noble of the superintendent.
It's horrible. Yeah, I don't do Gatorade, but I have Propel.
Big family.
Absolutely, and this is a young
man. I don't have any Gatorade, unfortunately.
Lost his life in the line of duty. He seemed to be very popular in his recruitment class, which wasn't that long ago, just 3 years ago. And less than 12 hours later, we'll watch the procession.
No, they said it. They said it right here.
To the office of the chief medical examiner
on Boston 10
South End, and that's beginning right now.
Let's go to Brianna Borghi. Brianna, you're there. Just a little bit of what you're seeing as we watch this.
Yeah, it is. It's out.
Examiner's van.
Channel 10 had his name. I just didn't remember what it was.
Guys, the van is heading down Charles Street right now, right next to Sturrow Drive, and there are troopers lining the road here as well as these vehicles go by. Traffic is
it's so awful.
And they'll make that 2-mile drive over to the office of the chief medical examiner. All morning long, there have been troopers out here. They are wearing black bands around their badges. That is the mourning badge in honor of troopers.
It's horrific.
Who lose their life in the line of duty. You see some of the cars here filing out now. This will be a full procession. The medical examiner's office as traffic continues to move behind them now. But I will also say it is extremely solemn here, as they have gotten everybody in line here to move out. I will also say we did learn a little bit more about the community action team that Trooper Trainer was a part of. It's a hand-selected group, really represents the best in the field and epitomizes who he was as a state trooper and his commitment to public service, guys.
It's
You can
terrible.
see some of those troopers there paying their respects along the side of the road. And as this procession moves through the Back Bay into the South End, we expect to see more of that. We know already at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, there are dozens of Massachusetts state troopers, but as well as law enforcement from other agencies, JC.
We have St. Cambridge Police represented, and as we get closer, you as well, we'll see
It's terrible.
the honor and, as Brianna mentioned, solemn nature of this moment. A young man, 30 years old, leaving behind his mother,
So young.
fiance, Jessica, and 4 siblings. And one thing that was pointed out today, Glenn, is that they're all in one way or another really part of public service.
Yeah,
The entire
among them,
family, EMTs,
It's terrible.
firefighters, police officers, and with Kevin Trainer, 30 years old, short time with state police at just 3 years, but stellar reputation based on
Ugh,
everything that was
Just
communicated
terrible.
today.
The whole thing.
You raise a good point. Not only the service of his family, but the way that other people who work on the front lines, who
They
are
have to go to the
first
ME's office. It was a
responders,
wrong way
we expect to see
crash.
them along this procession as well.
They still have to do autopsy, and that's what they do at the ME's office.
Even people who work in
Stuff
hospital
like that.
emergency rooms, all of them are sort of banded together because of the kind of work that they do. And you can see the large number of Massachusetts state troopers.
Trying to see if
there
I know any of
standing at
them.
attention, waiting for Kevin Trainor's body to arrive there at the office.
I
of the
hate those
Chief Medical
hats.
Examiner.
I hate
This
how
is
they
the
tip
South
down
End.
like that. It's driving me
There's
nuts.
some traffic control to ensure that that procession can get through quickly. And before long, we will see that vehicle arrive there in the South End on Albany
Oh,
Street.
God.
Brianna, if you're
That's
still
horrible.
with us, did you get a chance to speak to any of the officers standing by?
You know,
Ugh.
we did speak with some of them who just could not say anything but fantastic.
The tipping down drives me
Trooper
nuts.
Trainer.
Why
Again,
can't it
like I
just
said,
be
we
straight,
learned more
man?
about the CAT team and the community action team that he was a member of, and that's a position that these troopers have to apply for. They have to earn a spot on that team, and a lot of the young folks who join the ranks want to be on that team. That's what we were told. So that's why
I'm sure you do still have that. I would have burned that thing if I were you.
Even earlier, that one of his colleagues said he was the kind of person that you
Probably.
wanted not only as backup in life, or backup on the job, but also backup in life. And that really is what he epitomized during his 3 years as a trooper. And then, you know, even before that, he was a corrections officer in Essex County by the time he became a trooper in that recruiting class of 2023. He quickly was showing that dedication to public service and his commitment to public service, even serving as a mentor.
Yeah, I think so.
to some of the younger troopers.
Look at how young he looks. It's horrible.
Yeah, Brianna, and I did hear them speak about how enthusiastically he went about his job. He seemed to very much want to be a Massachusetts state trooper. So someone who seemed to be living out their dream, and to lose him in this way is so tragic. Both the governor and Colonel Noble said that he died a hero, and they were convinced that if not for his actions last night, there would be other tragedies that we
Other people would have died, or the wrong way driver.
That car would have traveled, and who else would have been in the line
Of that person driving.
as that car traveled down. We don't know why that driver was on the wrong side, traveling south on the northbound lane. That is still to be
Boston
figured out.
PD.
Again, the driver died.
See Boston
on the
PD
scene.
there.
The trooper taken to the hospital and dying there. I'm thinking of their families.
Sure.
Specifically.
I feel like it's done periodically, right?
The fiance's name is.
Yeah, I have Enrique's hearing is not until 2, or supposed to be at 2 for the
a position such as
one of the person and one of the people involved, one of the troopers involved, the hearing at 2 o'clock. Arraignment that we're gonna cover.
Home. He finished his shift.
Yeah, the shift
and
was
within
over.
3 minutes time from the time a 911 call came in to the collision, it ended just like that. And the just horror of this is
horrible.
painful. As the president of State Police Association said, it's a painful day for everyone.
Absolutely, and we have to keep in mind it's Mother's Day this weekend, and now there's a.
So I
Mother's Day
forgot
also.
that it was Mother's Day this
Truly, a
weekend.
young
I
woman,
completely did
30-year-old
not realize it until this
Emilio
morning.
Fabiano is
Tell me
just
why.
Outside the office of the Chief medical
Completely
examiner
forgot
this
that it was
procedure
Mother's
will
Day this
end.
weekend.
Amelia, there is a huge outpouring of support behind you.
Yeah, I know Brian's there today.
Absolutely. You can see these state troopers who have come to
I think,
show
isn't he
support for
going
their
live from the
fallen
courtroom?
trooper
I mean, I was going to cover it from here, but I'd rather cover, his if
along the
he's
side of
in there.
Concord Street. This is right outside, as you said, the state medical examiner's office here in the south end of Boston. It's right across the street from the Boston Medical Center. So we not only
BMC.
have fellow troopers, but we also have Boston firefighters. We have Boston police. We have transit police.
Oh, you guys call it the death photo? That's so sad.
Here for Trooper Trainer as they await the arrival of his body here in the south end. We know it's about a 2-mile drive or so from that.
You're totally right. It is kind of what it's used for.
See some motorcycles drive down the street here on Albany Street.
Police officer motorcycles.
On motorcycles there, but we have not seen any sign yet of the medical examiner vehicle that will be bringing Trooper Trainer. But it has just been such a solemn morning out here. We got here just
Isn't
a
it
little
that
bit
right
before
there?
11, and there
Isn't that the medical examiner?
troopers on scene all morning long.
The van.
As they wait for Trooper Trainer's body to arrive here at
That's
the
it right
medical
there.
examiner's office. We know, just to recap here.
Yeah, but you have to get permission to stream from inside the courtroom. What usually happens is they make you share a pool camera. So one of the news stations will do it, and you have to share the footage.
Okay. We have a trooper here calling other troopers to attention. So I'm assuming, Amelia, within moments, we're going to be seeing that.
There is a lot.
Only outside footage? Interesting.
Exactly. There's a lot of.
Well, we're going to cover it one way or another, so.
A ceremonial practice for law enforcement to honor
all the firefighters and EMTs.
In the line of duty, the ultimate
horrible
sacrifice. And unfortunately, they are trained for these moments, hoping never to have to use
So
these
bad.
moments.
And Amelia, I expect there are many Massachusetts state troopers there as well as Boston police. This is in the city of Boston. But are you seeing support from other law enforcement agencies, other first responders?
We're mostly just seeing Boston right here. It is, sort of a tough area to navigate as far as traffic control and
I didn't get it yet.
Streets.
My phone's also slow motion.
So I've just seen Boston police, Boston Fire, Transit Police, and then, of course, Mass State Police out
Nothing
here.
yet.
As you can see them lined up along the corner of Concord Street and Albany Street here.
Here it comes.
It's also worth noting, though, again, this is right across
My phone's
the
so
street from
old. I have
Boston
no.
Medical Center, and we have staff outside
Whatchamacallit.
Boston Medical Center and just regular everyday people
Room on my phone.
watching what's going on. This is obviously
load.
not something that happens every day.
Oh my God.
And it is just.
Well, thankfully, we'll never have to use this as your death photo, ma'am. It's a good picture of you. I feel like I've seen this one before.
To their fallen trooper. We do have.
This is such a good picture of you, though.
A chopper overhead. Might be tough to hear me as they go by.
Yeah, BMC. Me too.
We have not
in the
seen
air
the
as well.
procession come down just yet.
It's approaching based on what we're seeing, Amelia. It's getting very close to me at this point.
An abacus.
And we can see from where you're standing just how many officers are there. And once again, here comes the processional.
2.
You can see them standing at attention. Again, this is all to honor.
Yep. We're starting to see firefighters, troopers standing at attention, saluting. And
It's
here
just
comes
so
the
sad. Yeah, the
vehicle now.
medical examiner's vehicle is coming.
Here from Albany Street onto Concord Street as fallen Massachusetts State Trooper.
Yeah, no commentary, but you have to get permission
at the office
from the judge.
Examiner.
You can't tell. Do they really make women like cut their hair or shave their hair for that? Like, I never imagined they would. Like, put it in a bun, okay, but like that's a little extra making them cut it. You can't tell. It just looks like you put it up in a bun and it's like behind your hat.
It is such a solemn moment on a beautiful spring afternoon in the city of Boston.
Oh, I bet.
It's a good time to remind that Governor Healy asked every resident of the state to take a moment to thank law enforcement in their community or a Mass State Trooper for the work they do on a regular basis to keep everyone across the state safe, to protect each other in law enforcement. That was one of the messages that she was keen to deliver this morning as she paid her respects to Massachusetts trooper Kevin Trainer, who was killed in the line of duty last night.
And you can
There
see
it comes.
there's it. The van is backing into the state medical examiner's office, and the officer standing at attention.
It's just so sad.
All right.
It's an honor that officers.
And it looks like
across the
that.
state- Amelia, go ahead.
No, Amelia, shut the hell up.
It does look like that is concluding their procession. You're seeing state police, Boston police start to break up here now that their duty's been completed with honoring that fallen trooper, Kevin Trainer, as his body is now in the hands of the state medical examiner's office. You can see folks starting to disperse around here.
Ah, I get it.
We have a full report coming up at 2 o'clock in our evening news beginning at 4 o'clock. You can see, Glenn, how quickly first responders in all departments.
Yeah, I don't think women should be forced to cut their hair. It's a little different than men, you know? I don't think men should be forced to cut it either. I mean,
as we go through the days and weeks ahead.
And
well, what does their hair have anything to do with
they
it?
disperse because all of them are going back.
Also, that's what we call a cop cut, you know?
Have a lot of time
Yeah,
to
the
breathe this
military, one
they're
thing.
all
And I get that
very
they're
much
based on the
needed in
military,
their
but
lines of duty. And you can see there the
there's one officer
pamphlets
going
on
up
their
to the
vehicle ending
door.
its trip at the office of the chief medical examiner,
It's frozen.
carrying trooper Kevin Trainer.
We will have full coverage of everything that happened leading up to this, the tragic events that happened in the overnight hours, 2 a.m., again on Route 1 northbound in Linfield from a wrong-way driver. We will continue to cover Trooper Trainer's moments
Sad.
traveling from Mass General Hospital to the state medical examiner's office.
For JC Monahan, I'm Glenn Jones. Thanks very much for joining us. You can get updates anytime at
Thanks, Glenn.
NBCBoston.com. We'll see you this afternoon.
Appreciate it, Glenn. I mean, that's just sad. It's really just fucking sad. And it's unfortunate. You know, a wrong way crash that could have been avoided had somebody been not driving the wrong way on Route 1. Route 1 is extremely dangerous anyway. If you're from here, you know, like Route 1 is very twisty, windy. My dad was from the North Shore, and I honestly think a little bit why this hit me so hard was my dad's anniversary is less than 10 days away. And, you know, that time of year is hard anyway, you know, but thinking about this poor trooper and his family and how young he was, I think about how young my dad was, very early 40s, you know, many kids, and all the things that he missed, you know, and it's just tragic, all of it. And I know that not just me, but my sisters have a really hard time with the anniversary of my dad's death. And I feel like with my grandfather, he had cancer, right? And so we knew like we needed to say goodbyes, and like it doesn't make it easier, but just knowing that like it's gonna happen, I feel like it's different than not knowing, you know? And when your loved one takes their own life, that is something you never expect to happen. And there were no goodbyes, right? There was no saying everything you need to say or doing everything you thought you could do. And they're just gone. And my sisters and me are 7 and 9 years apart. I'm older than them. And so they lost my dad much younger than I was. And so, you know, me and my sister talk about my dad all the time. You know, every morning we talk about our dad. And so just, you know, seeing the trooper go down there like that, and all the people standing at attention, it's just sad. He was 30 years old, had a fiance, had, you know, siblings, and all because he went to go do his job, stop a wrong way driver from driving up Route 1. Now the driver and him are both gone, just in that snap of a second. And I think about his family, and his family doing the same thing that we do even now, which is the whole what if they weren't working that day. Or I did a lot of what ifs when my fiance died in a house fire in the early 2000s. It was 2006, and I did a lot of the, what if I wasn't working that night? What if I was home instead? A lot of like, it's not your fault, but like, what if these events would have happened and that wouldn't have happened and they would still be here with us? And you can drive yourself crazy doing the what if this happened? What if that happened? What if I didn't do this? What if I did do that? What if I said this? What if he said that? What if he didn't go here? What if I didn't go there? You'll never obviously get the answers, and you'll just drive yourself crazy. But I know that when you lose someone like that, especially that just out of nowhere like that, your mind can't help but to go that place, and as my dad's anniversary is fast approaching in the next 9 days, on the 15th, my brother's birthday was the next day. That's what makes it even worse, is my dad had my brother with a different woman before my parents got together. But my father had custody of my little brother since he was like 3. And so my brother grew up with my dad. My brother's birthday is May 16th. My dad took his own life on May 15th. So one day before my brother's birthday. And my brother has not enjoyed a birthday since. Let's just put it that way. He just won't, no matter how hard we try. I don't get to see my brother that often. He lives in Florida, so I might see him every couple of years or so. But right now, he's taking care of my grandmother, my only living grandparent, my dad's mom, who has cancer, and she's in her 80s. We've talked about my grandmother before. My grandmother is, this 4'9" Christian woman who will talk your ears off about her prayer cookies and God. And she only had 2 sons, my Uncle Dave and my dad. And losing my dad was really hard on my grandmother, and just hard on everyone, but my grandmother specifically, like, she's a, God-fearing woman, and she's made through cancer. This will be her 3rd bout of it. She got a mastectomy many years ago for breast cancer. And my grandfather, her husband, he passed away due to Agent Orange, who's in the military, and Agent Orange killed him, unfortunately. What they didn't know back then. You know what I mean? What they just didn't know, they didn't know. They don't give you time. I'm sure they don't give you time to do your hair, 2 minutes? Oh my God. That's crazy. Oh, I'm sure it would be. That's just crazy. Guess you have to throw it in a bun and go. Yeah, Boston roads suck. I grew up very close to Boston, within 10 minutes, and one-way streets, and it's a nightmare. This one's, it's like every other is a one-way, and you can't park, and the city basically makes up all their income in parking tickets by making sure there's nowhere to fucking park, or everything's just a half hour, 15 minutes. It's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. Don't be sorry. It was a long time ago. I just, when it comes up every year, you can't help but to think about what the trooper's family is going through, and it's unfortunate because now we have, later on today in a little bit here, in about a half an hour, we have another trooper who's about to be arraigned for the death of Trooper Enrique Delgado. And that's a whole nother realm of what the fuck happened there, what the fuck happened there, nobody should have to ever bury their child. I grapple with that every single day. It's one thing when you live knowing that could happen. It's another when it just comes out of nowhere. And for my grandmother, that was out of left field, of course, as it was for everyone else. I feel like it's a little bit different for me as a parent, knowing that my child has a terminal illness, knowing that that could happen at any time. And I think the not knowing was worse for me as a parent, not knowing what was going on with her when she was little, not knowing if it was gonna, take her at any moment, not knowing specifically what the disease was, but that was affecting her so badly. I think once we got a final diagnosis and did genetics and all that, then it was a little easier, at least managing, knowing what you know. But because my daughter's disease is still so rare, less than 200 people on planet Earth have it, they still don't have a exact life expectancy. there was a 16-year-old girl that passed from my daughter's disease, and then there was like a 32, it was either 32 or 36-year-old guy that passed. So there is no exact life expectancy for that disease. It just causes havoc and wreaks havoc in the bodies of people who have it, and it's a little bit different for every single person. Some people will have lymph node issues, heart issues, lung issues. My daughter has some of those lung issues now. She has scleroderma, which does have a life expectancy on it, which isn't great, but it causes all of these other health conditions under the umbrella of her disease. And so that's what makes it so wildly different for every person that has it. But living every single day as a parent, knowing that it's likely you're going to outlive your child is fucking difficult. It's a heavy weight to bear on your shoulders. I don't want to say you get used to it, but you get used to the idea of you don't waste time, if that makes sense, with your child. You know, you don't miss out on memories and doing things if you can help it, because you're not going to get those back when they're gone, you know. And so if my kid asks for something, I will move mountains because she doesn't ask. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't ask. She doesn't ask for things because she doesn't, you know, I pretty much have given her everything she wanted or needed in her life. So she doesn't really ask for things. So when she does ask, I will move a mountain to do it. You know, you live one life, and I have one shot as a parent to make sure that she lives life to the fullest way that she can physically, because it's all physical. Up here, she's all there, smart as a whip. Everything is a physical disability. And so you just give everything that you can when it comes to your child, knowing that that life could leave this earth, whether it's a day, a month, a week, 10 years, 5 years, 2 months. You just don't know. 20 years. We simply don't know. And that's fucking hard. You know, that's fucking hard. But at least I know, right? My grandmother didn't have the option. Me and my brothers and sisters didn't have the option of knowing my dad was gonna, you know, pass away. And this trooper's family doesn't have that, you know. And it's fucking heartbreaking, because then you have troopers like this on one side that are doing the right thing and making sure that people are safe. You know, he went out there to stop a wrong way driver and paid the ultimate price for it. But as they said, you know, that could have been how many other people? You know what I mean? It could have been a family, an entire family in a car going the right way on a highway, and that driver crashed into them, right? And so, you know, he could have saved many lives by giving his own. And it's sad because now his family has one empty seat at the table, you know? Thank you, Pat. I like my sweatshirt too. It's comfy. It's very lightweight, but I'm sick still, and so I'm hot and cold sweating. So I needed something very light, hence why my hand is in my, you know, braid of, I just don't care because I still feel like I got hit by a bus. Hey, Marcia. And I had to suck it up, right? Got to suck. Sometimes we just got to do shit that you don't want to. I did not want to. I'm not want to adult today. And I obviously don't have a choice because I don't get sick time working for myself on YouTube. There's no sick time, unfortunately. I do want to say, I saw just a second ago, Steph sent $20. Thank you, Steph. It says, on my throat. Sorry. It says, hope you feel better soon, Elise XX. Thank you. I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. To be honest, I'll probably use that to buy soup tonight. Honestly, but I just got to figure out what I'm going to feed the family, because there is no way. I can't eat that. I can't eat anything heavy. I can't. My stomach just starts turning. My throat hurts. I actually need ginger ale too, speaking of which. The nauseousness has been like one of those things. But I actually forgot, by the way, while we're waiting for the Delgado hearing, I actually completely forgot that Mother's Day was Sunday. Who completely forgot Mother's Day was Sunday? Oh, I did. So I just want to say that if you have someone in your life that you're celebrating, whether it be mother, a stepmother, a grandparent, a foster parent or just friends of yours that are like family, don't forget, if you're buying something for them, to probably do it quickly, because today is Wednesday and Mother's Day is Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you got like 3 days. So I guess probably the only thing you're going to get is if you're doing like Amazon or possibly flowers. I tell people don't do flowers. They die, and they look pretty and all, but they die, and they jack up the prices for like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, where the flowers are like $75, $100, and that's just crazy. I probably won't honestly be doing much. We'll just be home. I don't have the expendable cash I should say me and my husband don't have the expendable cash to just go out somewhere and do something like that. Plus, to be fair, if I was to pick, I think I told you guys this before, if I was to pick what I wanted to do on Mother's Day, I would take my whole family to an arcade. That's what I would do. Because that sounds like fun. And I'm like a little kid. Like arcade, I'm in. Arcade, maybe some ice cream, maybe some fried dough. Like I'm totally in on doing that. Like that sounds like a blast. I'm not one of those people that wants to go sit down and have like $100 lunch or dinner for Mother's Day. I'd rather do something fun with my family or friends, or like I take the kids to an arcade with me and be a child. That sounds like a blast to me. That sounds like an absolute freaking blast. But yes, if you are buying for a loved one for Mother's Day, a grandparent, a friend, even a dad who's a single parent, there's a pinball arcade in Pawtucket? No freaking way. I'm not too far from there. I'm about the same distance from there as I am from Boston, really, or closer to Boston from where I'm from. So I'm about half an hour from both. So I do need, my favorite soup is though? Corn chowder. I'm not going to lie. Corn chowder is my favorite soup. I love myself some corn chowder, but I also like chicken noodle and oyster crackers. I could get down with chicken noodle and oyster crackers, or tomato soup and grilled cheese. But grilled cheese, you have to have bacon. Okay. You have to have bacon on your grilled cheese, Yeah. Right. Like a card with like a gift card, or just a card that kids made. Like, I'm more practical, and also like, I just don't have the expendable money, and I know we don't, Do they really? Wow, what are the odds? Yeah, the 15th, May 15th. That day is ingrained in my brain. My grandfather passed away February 11th, and I only remember that because his funeral was on Valentine's Day that year. And I found out I was pregnant with my oldest daughter just a week, not even a week. I think it was a couple days after his funeral. So that's how I will forever remember that. But yeah, the 15th of May was the day. You guys' Mother's Day was in March? Oh, see, I always wondered that. Like, is it the same around the world, or is it different in different countries? I guess so, huh? Father's Day is in June. I always feel like Mother's Day was later in May, though. Does anybody else feel like it was later in May, but this year it's not? Well, if you are buying for, your mother, or your single dads, or, your brother who's a single dad, or your foster parents, or your grandparents. In my case, my grandparents raised me. They're both gone, but I used to love doing something for my grandmother for Mother's Day. It was really important to me, and I miss her dearly. It's always the second Sunday. I always feel like it should be later, but maybe, I'm probably just not paying attention. But, I mean, yeah. I used to, go with my grandmother wherever she wanted to go, for Mother's Day. And she was an easy person to please with flowers. She loved gardening and flowers. In the last couple of years of her life, she couldn't do it. She had COPD, even though she had quit smoking like 40 years before that. She still had COPD, so she couldn't do those very physical things like gardening that she would have liked to at the end of her life. But my grandmother was a freaking rock star. That lady, raised me, and she didn't have to. And my grandparents were a big part of my life, and I miss them dearly. My grandmother's been gone. My youngest was about a month and a half old when my grandmother passed away. She passed away January of 2018. And it was weird. The number 7 is very prevalent. When she passed, she was 77 years old. The number of her house was 7. She died on January 7th. So it was really like strange. It was strange. The sevens, like they're just everywhere. They were just everywhere with her. But my grandmother was a rock star. That lady was a rock star. She loved her grandbabies and her great grandbabies. I'm glad that she had all of my kids were born before my grandmother passed. My sister, unfortunately, did not have any kids when my grandmother passed, but my grandmother loved her great grandbabies and her grandbabies. And I'm glad that she got to have some great grandchildren before she passed. Her and my oldest were very, very close. And my grandmother used to paint. She used to paint and she used to make things. I remember her making this choo-choo train for my friend's son, Jace, when he was born. And it's just like for decoration, but she painted each part of the car. And then on the bottom, she put, her initials. And she made this big painting of a big mother elephant holding a baby elephant's trunk that she painted for my oldest daughter. And that is because my oldest daughter absolutely loves elephants and sunflowers, but she loves elephants. And she had this stuffed elephant Fanty that she had from the time she was born and still has it at 21 that she brought with her everywhere. Hospital visits, hospital stays, infusions, the whole nine. Now she gets her infusions at home. Now there's a visiting nurse that comes and she gets her infusions at home. Boy, when I tell you that was a fight with the insurance company, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Let's just put it that way. It was a fucking absolute nightmare. Although insurance companies are nightmares when it comes to my daughter because she's basically a guinea pig. So they always want to argue, why is it medically necessary? Oh, I don't know, because the doctor fucking said it was. So there's nothing to compare it to. So with me, they can say, okay, you have MS, so why don't you have this, this, and this? Like, why do you medically need this medication if people with MS usually use these medications? And the doctor can argue, we've already tried those ones, and that's why, right? But with my daughter, because there's nothing to compare it to, because in the entire world, there's only 200 people or less than 200 people that have what she has. And half of them are in the United States and some are in other countries, right? And so they have nothing to compare it to. So they always argue, why is it medically necessary? Because usually whatever drug or treatment it is used for something else and it's secondarily being used for her stuff. And so it's always a fucking fight with them about why it's medically necessary. It's like, because the fucking doctor said it was. That's fucking why, insurance company. That is fucking why. I'm trying to just pull up Enrique's hearing here. Oh, God. Process. Also, if you want to support the channel, I know I totally forgot to do this. I'm already 50 minutes in. I would appreciate it. Maybe I'll start making a fund of, sick days. Start putting away money for a sick day fund. Oh, God, I forgot about that. Is he seriously doing it on Mother's Day? I know he said he was going to, but is he seriously going to? Also, news in that department I'll tell you about in a second. But he's so fucking ridiculous. But if you do want to support the channel, there's a bunch of different ways, including free ones like hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. That's more than appreciated. We appreciate that. And then there's other ways that you can monetarily help the channel. There's a link at the top. You can use any credit or debit card and in Apple Pay as well. For the link at the top, it's pinned in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. And then we have Cash App and Venmo and Chime and Revolut for people who are out of country. Revolut actually, I can confirm this, has a better exchange rate than PayPal. Way better exchange rate than PayPal. And fees are much better than PayPal. So if you're looking for an optional way to send family or friends money country to country, you should check out Revolut. I do have like referral codes or whatever. So if you're planning on doing it, I can give you one of those. I don't know what benefit it gives. I think it's like the same as Cash App or Venmo, but like lower. Like you might get $10 or something by using it. I forget how it works, but Revolut is a good option if you have family or friends in other countries that you're trying to, send money to or whatever. Okay, so right? He can fuck off. I agree with you, Pat. He can fuck off. So speaking of what Freeze just said, I do have some news on that front. Jen Altman this morning has said on her Twitter that other people shared. I wouldn't share it unless other people already had, because her Twitter is private. Obviously, so she doesn't get fucking, attacked more by the cult. But she has said that she was seeking a order, or no, sorry, not an order, charges against Aiden. And as she had collected his, videos of him threatening her. And so she said, sorry. So yeah, 19 hours ago, it was that she had confirmed her meeting with the local PD detective near her. And she says, threatening to destroy someone's life is indeed a crime. Threatening to come for someone's 19-year-old son is a crime. Threatening to come after someone's husband is a crime. Threatening to call someone's job until they're fired is a crime. Threats are not covered by First Amendment speech. So, I mean, it looks like Aiden will be dealing with other people, So people are just not putting up with his shit anymore. And I'm glad. I'm fucking glad. Because there was a time when people were just too afraid. They were too afraid to stand up for themselves. They were too afraid to stand up for each other, that Aiden would come for them. I know you were being facetious, but I think he'll absolutely do it this weekend. I think he will. I am also glad, Shannon, that she's taking action, and I hope that it sets a precedent for other people to realize, like, the way he's gotten away with it for so long is simply by people being too afraid to do anything about it. So I really do hope that people, go to their local. I have sat with several women who have still proud of you, Jen. So proud of you. She might have to put it off until tomorrow, but still proud of her. When I tell you she has, Casey, she has. And so, like I've told you guys before, the one thing that, there's plenty of people who don't like Jen, but I think if you take her outside of Aiden and all that is him, right? And you speak to her, actually talk to her, you'll find, she'll tell you, it was a cult. And obviously you don't know that when you're in it, right? So you just, think that it's, you're doing something good or standing for something. And then you realize when you're out of it, oh shit, why didn't I see this, right? It's a form of brainwashing. It can happen to anyone. And, Jen does something that Aiden will never be able to do. And that's take accountability and apologize. And I respect the fuck out of somebody who can apologize and mean it and not make an excuse. And that's exactly what she's done. For the people that she thinks deserve those apologies, she gave them with no excuses. None at all, And that is something Aiden will never be able to do. Ever. He can't, he's allergic to accountability, I mean, I don't think it was, Lana that did it for her. I'm sure it's her having to deal with all these lunatics, that probably, about all the harassment and stuff, it's crazy. So the other thing is that, Nan left X, she left Twitter. And so, you have to hope that she's okay. I know that there's probably law enforcement involved with the shit that she's had to deal with as well. It's sad that the people have to do that, right? That people have to leave X, because nobody should be forced to leave a platform because they're being fucking harassed into oblivion. No one. Absolutely fucking no one. Well, that's his thing, right? Support me with praise and money or I'll cancel you. That's his thing, right? He comes here to my channel and actually counts my pocket. It's bro, you're not counting much over here. I don't know why you're counting my pocket. You're not going to count much, You're not going to count much. It's sick, How much does Backpack Boy spend a year on attorney's fees? Well, the Superfan blogger hired a First Amendment media attorney. And the guy's last name is Pyle, which is so funny to me because he's going to be dealing with a pile of shit. And I suspect quickly that Aiden will run out of funding for this guy. This guy usually takes on more high-powered clientele with more funding. And I have a sneaking suspicion that he's not going to have quite the funding to keep paying that attorney. You know? He's paranoid about a lot of fucking things. But I've outed him on pretty much everything he's fucking done and then some. He also knows that I know some things that haven't been outed yet, and I think he's just paranoid of that. And it's like, bro, it's all coming out one way or another. I have to let the legal system do its job, right? But you can bet your fucking ass that if I get my hands on pieces of information or evidence that he was, you know, going after Nan or going after Jen Altman or going after any of you or any of that, like, on purpose, that's not staying in my pocket, right? Like that's going to be put out there immediately. The only stuff I don't put out is stuff that the victims share with me in confidence that doesn't need to be put out until they deal with it in the legal way, right? Like, first of all, it's not smart. It's not a good legal strategy, although Aiden seems to like not understand this, to give the person a heads up on what you have on them. Right? Even though they might have an idea, they can hope and pray that you lost it, or they might forget that they, you know, you don't want to give them a heads up on what you have so they can counter that with some bullshit lie or some fabricated piece of evidence. People have made that mistake with Aiden in the past, and he's just come with fabricated evidence, right? You don't want to give someone like him a fucking heads up, you know? You simply don't. And so if I can at all help it, right, I'm not going to share things until that goes through the legal system the way it's supposed to. He has to be held responsible at some point for doing this shit to people. That's the bottom line. You can't keep allowing someone to torture people online and use a cult to do so and expect there's not going to be any fucking consequences. The First Amendment does not cover stalking. Cyber stalking. It doesn't cover threats. It doesn't cover blackmail. It doesn't cover, you know, criminal harassment. It doesn't, like, the list goes on and on. It doesn't cover wiretapping, right? It doesn't cover extortion. It doesn't cover falsifying evidence. It doesn't cover obstruction of justice. It doesn't cover, like, we could go on and on and on. One of my biggest problems is that the legal system here in Massachusetts has not taken the time to hold him accountable because they don't want to deal with him. They simply don't want to deal with him. So instead of like charging him with it, they're like, we don't want to touch that because then he's going to come after our officers and maybe some of our officers get fired and he's going to go after our lawyers and some of our DAs might get fired if they ever said one thing bad online that he pulls up from 20 years ago or makes something up. Then there's an internal investigation. Then they find something someone said from 20 years ago that doesn't sound great and it's out of context. So like they lose vacation days or they have an IE investigation. So like instead of law enforcement doing their job when it comes to him, they kind of just throw their hands up and go, we don't want to deal with this guy. Well, that's not correct, right? I didn't get into law enforcement. I didn't choose to do that. When you choose to do that, you should be holding him accountable. Right? You should be holding him accountable. Oh, here comes a cultist. Bye-bye, cultist. I didn't even read that because I don't simply care what you have to say. It's sad that you felt the need to subscribe to my channel and then wait 3 minutes to write a comment I didn't even read. The first part of it said, it's sad you talk about Aiden, and then I was done right there. I was done right there. Bro, if you're not going over to his channel and telling him what a sad, pathetic piece of shit he is for harassing people and for going after women, there's a big difference. There's a big fucking difference between me helping his victims and talking about it and wanting accountability and me riling up a mob of my followers to go harass and intimidate and call their jobs and call their families and do these things that you cultists fucking do. I make it abundantly clear, since you clearly don't watch my show, that is not something I condone in any way, shape, or form or manner at all for anybody who's following me to be attacking or harassing anyone in any capacity. You'll never, ever hear Aiden say that, because that's where he thinks he gets his power from, is from the people who do that shit for him, who watch him, and who buy right into his bullshit. I am going to keep calling out his bad behavior, cultist. Sorry you're upset about it. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry that you're upset about it. You know? Sorry, not fucking sorry. If you don't like it, here's an idea. Stop hate watching my channel. Go back to daddy and give him over all the money you have for small pizzas. Don't buy groceries for your family this week. Go help out your daddy turtle. Then, when he eventually turns on you, don't come crying to me, ultimately, because it will happen. It's not an if, it's a when. Just let's be clear about that. You can ask all the people he's done it to previously who told me later on they should have listened to me. You know, I'm wondering how some people right now are feeling about dealing with other people I told them were fucking absolutely insane. They didn't want to listen, and now they're dealing with the consequences of that fucking fallout. I can only give the advice, you know? You can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink, you know? Well, yeah, for him, it's an open tab. He just wants everyone to pay for it for him. But at what point does he have any accountability in paying for his own fucking legal problems? You know what I mean? Like, listen, most people are not dealing with those types of legal problems because most people are not inciting a cult of lunatics on the internet to go harass every one of their known perceived enemies. And the problem is that his cult buys everything hook, line, and sinker without ever using one single brain cell to go, wait a second. What if Aiden is lying? What if Aiden's doing things privately that he doesn't say publicly, and then when people end up fighting back publicly and he says, oh, it was them first, that I don't have all the information. They don't even for 1 second go, oh, wait, maybe I don't have all the information. Maybe he's lying. Not 1 second. Not one fucking second do they think that. Not a single goddamn one. It's like, is this real fucking life? Like, I beg you to use your fucking brain cells. Like, if you want to keep giving all of your money to a man who's literally laughing at you in text messages behind your back because you're stupid enough to do it, be my guest. It's your money you're wasting, dude. It's your money you're flushing down the toilet. It's your money you're lighting on fire. Be my guest, dude. But don't say someone didn't warn you. Don't say someone didn't give a fuck enough to say, hold on, this man's a liar. This man is just trying to hide his own bad behavior. And the funny part about it is most people that he attacks are people who know too much about what he's done and what he can do and what they could testify against. All the things that he's made them lie about or asked them to lie about, all the way that he's spun things and not told the truth to make them believe one thing. And then when they get the evidence and they're like, holy shit, he fucking lied right to my face and to thousands of people's faces without giving an actual, like, you can't say someone didn't warn you. I love when he says we. You notice that too, Cla? Like the we. He's always saying we. Like, what's we? The fuck is we? Why does he keep saying we? Who's the we? Like, who the hell is the we? Like, no, you have a hearing, sir. You. Yeah, we need to raise money. Like, no, I, right? I, my channel, I say we when talking about us as a community, like you guys, like we can do better, right? As in we can do better. We can be better people. We can put a little kindness in the world. That's when you talk about we. We have a court hearing? No, I, Aiden, it's I. It's not we. There's no we there, bud. It's just you. It's just you because you're the only one stupid enough to commit these crimes and keep going. And you have the only attorneys on planet Earth that consistently cheer you on to do it. It's fucking wild. It is wild. And again, mark my words, when Beto and Bradel have to deal with just a slew of complaints against their license and a slew of their reputations just being dragged through the mud when Aiden eventually loses and then appeals and says that they did all this shit that they shouldn't have done as lawyers, like, don't cry to anyone else. You encouraged the behavior. You even got on Twitter and encouraged his behavior even worse by making comments to all his perceived enemies as an attorney. Like, again, no self-respecting attorney goes after their client's perceived enemies. That's unprofessional and fucking also weird. Just weird. You know? It's fucking weird. It's just goddamn weird. Hearing hasn't started yet, but I'm still trying to locate. Sorry. NBC 10 usually has it, so I'm just waiting on them to. Right now, it's on like a what is this? On this thing right now. So I'm just gonna mute it and then wait, obviously. But well, yeah. To be fair though, he says we because then people assume they're part of his quote community. Hold on a second. I feel a little nauseous. Hold on a second. So I did watch a little bit of it. I was planning on streaming it, but I got sick, obviously, and I'm still sick, clearly. But unfortunately, like I said, I don't get sick time, so I can't afford to just keep not being here. We all the way to jail. There's a subtext to everything he says. My mom would say, follow the money. Ooh, you're so right, Cats. A lot of the time people have said that, like when it comes to him, follow the money, follow the money. It's something we've definitely talked about with him. And I also believe that that's part of why he goes after certain people, is because he believes that, they know too much. And if they can tell the DA's office, or if they could be called as a witness against him, like he tries to scare them into going away and shutting up. Part of his problem is that's witness intimidation. When you know someone has seen you do things you're not supposed to, and they could testify to it, and then you move to harass them into oblivion until they go away or shut up, that's a problem. That's a fucking problem. You can't do that. You simply can't do that. And he knows that. He fucking knows that. The uses free speech freedom banner. He also hates it. I see an increase of people calling him the sewer turtle. He fucking absolutely hates people calling him the sewer turtle because he knows it comes from our channel. And so it pisses him off. And it's like, good. I hope it fucking does piss you off, sir. That's what you are, a sewer turtle. You lurk in the sewer with the shit, and you love it, and it's fucking weird. But I would ask that you guys send all of your love, to people who have to continue to fight that lunatic, and the people surrounding that lunatic, right? You have to remember, a lot of these people who take it upon themselves to message and harass and threaten, like the amount of threats that Nan has gotten is fucking insane. And we've talked about it before, but that's a little too much, right? You're going over the line. Why are people doing that? Well, you have some unmedicated weirdos, right? But a lot of the time it's monkey see, monkey do, right? Aiden does the behavior and then oh, that's what he wants me to do, so I'm going to do it, right? Then you literally have unhinged stalker status, stage 5 clingers who are trying to claim, and I mean, the most recent thing that I saw was, and I've had, Barry Lewis blocked for quite some time, but I went and checked something the other day, and I'm looking at the dude's Twitter, and I kid you not when I say it reads like one of my patients who were schizophrenic from the jail. So it is him literally talking shit about Nan and calling her a traitor, which is fucking wild, and then defending her when someone says something about her. And it's bro, you've lost your mind. So somewhere in there, he, his whole Twitter reads oh, well, this charge is going to happen and you're going to be charged with this federally and you're going to be charged with that if you don't do this, and you have 24 hours and you have 48 hours and you have it's you know what I mean? First of all, nobody's being charged with anything, you fucking weirdo, based on your perceived wild conspiracy theories. That's not a thing. And it's just simple. All Nan wanted is just to be left alone. Dude can't take a serious hint of just leave her alone, right? Instead, he thinks it's a good idea to threaten someone's family, someone's livelihood, someone's business, someone's children, someone's what the fuck is wrong with you? What? I had to write a whole post. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, right? I had been sleeping most of the day, trying to rest. My husband has to force me to, because I'm not someone who's just oh yeah, I'm gonna, I'm I got shit to do in the house, yeah, so basically Nan was nice to him, for a while online. And so he took that to mean that she must like him. And she's not the first woman. Actually, he's done this to several women. And I don't know if he drinks or not, but all of a sudden these women will get these weird sexual messages from him, saying this weird shit. And unprovoked, they're not talking that way to him and whatever. So at some point, Nan was nice to him, and then he started doing weird shit, and she was kind of all right, that's a little much, basically, and decided okay, he was doing too much. I can't, no, thank you, not interested, no. And Barry doesn't know how to take no for an answer, and he, in his fucked up way of thinking, in the same way that Grant does sometimes, believes that like she's behind every, stock account that doesn't like him, and every person that, calls him out on his bullshit must have something to do with her, which is crazy and wild and has no truth to it at all. But when he goes as far as like, if you ever read the guy's Twitter, he's literally going from saying like she's awesome and amazing and don't dare talk about her, to then threatening her and calling her a traitor. And it's like, bro, she's been asked you to leave her alone a billion times. Like, leave her the fuck alone. Like, he's moved on. She's moved on. I mean, he's moved on to like threatening Nan's boyfriend, Steve, who's I'm a very good friend with. I absolutely love Steve. I think me and Steve share a pretty good bond as friends, and I adore Steve. And so he's moved on to saying wild shit like, Steve must be coercively controlling you, and I'm going to get you away from the people coercively controlling you. It's like, bro, what are you talking about, dude? What the fuck are you talking about? Bro, I literally had to write a whole tweet, you guys. I'm not kidding. And it's like, but these are the types of people that Aiden helps cultivate. People who are not well, right? People who are mentally not well. And he is cultivating people who are not well to believe these wild conspiracy theories he puts out, and taking his like dog whistles to go after them, right? In the same way that like Jen's had to deal with some of these lunatics trying to go after her husband or her son, right? Her son's in college doing the right thing, being a good kid, right? Husband, is her husband. He works. He's a good guy. Like, why the fuck? Why? Like, why in the world? Aiden should be more focused on his lawsuits. You got one from Kylie. You have one from the Alberts, the McCabe's, and the Higgins. You got more coming. So I don't know why you're focused on harassing Jen Altman, or fucking, cultivating people like Barry Lewis and that fucking box of people to harass Nan. Like, I'll read you guys the tweet, because this is how, like, I had to actually put a tweet out, which no one should ever have to do, but I felt the need because I'm just reading, and I've had him blocked for a long time, but reading his Twitter, I'm not kidding, read like a person who needs a straitjacket. Okay. And I don't take that lightly. I've worked in mental health in a prison for a long time, right? I have PTSD myself. I don't take mental health lightly, but when you have someone that is so very unwell, okay, that you clearly know that they're unwell, I mean, it's not safe at that point, She left X, she did, and, law enforcement's involved. He brought it upon himself. If Barry just left her alone, like, she shouldn't be forced to leave X. Okay. That's the sad part. She should not be fucking forced to leave X because of him, or because of dealing with him and his harassment. So this is what I wrote. Here's my tweet right here. Okay. Yes, I put Steve from Blue's Clues because the dude needs to get a fucking clue. So I wrote, Dear Barry Lewis, you are clearly unhinged and need some serious help. Nobody is coercively controlling Nan because you refuse to understand she wants nothing to do with you. She would like you to leave her and Steve the fuck alone. Move on with your life. She doesn't like you. Go be like Steve from fucking Blue's Clues and find a damn clue that she doesn't like you and wants to live life with Steve, being left alone. It's not that hard. Stop tagging her. Stop talking about her and attacking Steve. You fail to understand that you have a long history of cyber harassment. Let me throw this out there. Barry's actually been in trouble with the law for cyber harassment. There's a charge on his record for that, okay? This is something he has done several times, been in trouble with several times. I guess his local PD is very well aware of who he is and the shit that he does. Other PDs are aware. Like, that's, like, the dude's got a history of, like, doing this kind of unhinged shit, okay? He is unhinged, and that's the problem that I have. I play pickleball. A lot of these people just stand there and watch instead of speaking out. And I get it. Speaking out doesn't make money, right? Like, that's what it boils down to, is saying something about this shit doesn't bring the money in. And so no one who has a platform wants to fucking say anything, right? They see it all, they watch it all, just as I do, and they say nothing. And that bothers me. It fucking does. It really bothers me. Like, just do the right thing. I don't care. Just for once, for one time, don't think about what's going to make the most money. Think about what's fucking right, dude. Okay? I don't make a ton of money here. I don't have a savings put away for emergencies. I don't have I'm sick and I need a couple days off put away. I wish, right? Like, I don't. But I also can tell the difference between like doing what's right and just saying shit because it's going to make me the most money. Like, where's the conscience? Like, I wish more people would fucking speak up. Actually, I feel like I got hit by a bus, but I'm still here, Lisa. I had to already shut the camera off once because I felt wicked nauseous, but I'm pushing through. I'm pushing through. I was telling people you weren't here earlier, but I was like, I don't have sick time, right? Because I work for YouTube and I work for all of you. So unfortunately, I don't have sick time. I don't get paid to be out. Otherwise, I'd probably not be here right now because I definitely feel horrible. But I am here. So my rest of it says, it says, you fail to understand you have a long history of cyber harassment. You need professional help. Please seek that help. Faking your death was you wanting attention. Get that attention from a professional who can help you. Your entire Twitter reads like a paranoid psycho threatening people with nonsense you don't even understand. This dude's threatening people with joint venture. He doesn't even know what the fuck joint venture is, what it means, or how someone would be charged with it. In no capacity would anybody ever be charged with joint venture over things that you don't like on Twitter that people have nothing to do with that you perceive they do. I mean, that's fucking wild, okay? It's not a thing. So I said, your entire Twitter reads like a paranoid psycho threatening people with nonsense you don't even understand but try to pretend to. Get your handy dandy notebook and write this down to yourself. She doesn't like you, bro. Move on. Okay? It's not that fucking hard. Leave the woman and her boyfriend alone, you psychopath. Like, this is the same guy that faked his death like a month ago. Like, that's a cry for help. I hope his family gets him some fucking serious help. But allowing this shit to continue without saying anything, you know, that's the part that really bothers me. I play pickleball is like, what's it going to take? What's it going to fucking take for people to take this shit seriously? We're waiting for something horrible to happen to someone. Like, because I feel like, you know, law enforcement, especially when it comes to Aiden, like, were you guys waiting for someone to unalive themselves before you take it serious, like a Michelle Carter style thing? Like, why the fuck is it taking this long for people like this to be held accountable? You know, I get it. The PDs often want to be like, well, it's just probably a civil issue. They don't even want to hear what you have to say. They don't want to see your evidence. They're like, oh, it's just some person online harassing you. Oh, it's a civil issue. Like, no, it's far beyond a civil issue at this point. It's criminal harassment. It's cyber stalking and criminal harassment. We have cyber stalking laws for a fucking reason. They need to be used, right? They need to be used. The problem is our law enforcement and our DAs are not using them, at least here in Massachusetts, because they don't want to deal with people like Aiden. And it's like, your job as an officer is to deal with people like him. You wanted to do that, right? None of us got into that, you know, job line because we didn't ask for that, right? Like, when you get into that as a job, you would think that, like, you're going to handle it. But because of all of the damage that Aiden has created in other people's fucking lives, Mike's got it. Hold on. Hearing's on. Hold on. Oh, NBC 10. NBC 10, here it is. NBC 10, NBC 10. Popping it up on the screen now. NBC 10 has it on. When the hearing for some of the troopers involved in Enrique Delgado's death are arraigned here in a second. Oh, man, this is pounding. I feel like crap, Rose.
Thank you.
I was just saying, I don't have a sick fund to not be here, unfortunately, and I already took 2 days off, which is literally killing me.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. I've had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Kelly at length, and as was the case with the 3 co-defendants, the Commonwealth is respectfully asking that Trooper Lamont be released on personal recognizance with the sole condition of his release that he have no contact with certain individuals who I've identified to Mr. Kelly.
All right, is that agreeable?
Yes, Your Honor, we've seen that list, and that's agreeable.
But those would be the bail terms. Next date?
I believe June 16th, Your Honor.
All right, June 16th.
And Judge, if I could give him a bail warning?
Yes, Kathy, thank you.
Sir, you're hereby notified if you fail without sufficient excuse to appear in court after being released on bail or recognizance, you may be punished by a fine of up to $10,000 or a year in jail or both in the case of a misdemeanor. And in the case of a felony, sir, you could face a fine up to $50,000 or 5 years in jail or both. Do you understand that warning?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, if you are rearrested on something new, while these cases are open, the court may revoke your bail, be held without bail up to 90 days. Do you understand that warning?
Yes, ma'am.
And probation's already had a chance to speak to him, correct?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
June 16th for pretrial conference.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Track C, where you track C.
So,
All right. Oh, he's already off the bench. God, he's quick. He's like a shadow. Gone. He wants the person to be able to leave. Ah, again. And you know who was here?
I'm sorry, I meant to mention who
I can ask him. Do we waive the other three?
Yeah, no objection.
All right, I'll talk to him, yeah. I don't think it's a problem, but you want to wait and I'll ask him?
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that.
No, it's all right. And we waive the other three anyway.
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Waive what? Waive him being at the next pretrial conference? Like, I mean, to be fair, I find it funny that they would waive it. Everyone else on planet Earth, including myself, would have to show up for a pretrial conference if I was being charged. Why should these people have it waived? Like, I'm sorry, but again, trooper or not trooper, like, everyone else on planet Earth would have to show up. Why would they have their appearances waived? It just goes to show you that our justice system has two tiers. One tier for people who can afford personal attorneys. If you had a
Thank you.
public defender, you'd be expected to show up.
Great. Thank you very much.
Interesting.
Well, I told them
This-
2:30 or whenever they were around the area, so they're somewhere.
This is the fourth trooper, right? I mean, it's just fucking literally makes my fucking head want to explode. If it's not already from this headache, it makes my head want to explode. Like, what makes them any better than anyone? As a matter of fact, they were held to a higher standard and they blew that. Somebody see Brian? See Brian. Oh, that room got cleared out quick. Let's see if Brian goes live. Let's see. So that was quick. So they basically what happened, in case you don't know legalese, is they released the trooper on his personal recognizance on bail, which means he had to pay $0 in bail, which is wild to me. Because I'm telling you right now, if I was charged with what he was charged with, there's no chance in hell they would release me on personal recognizance, even if I had no record. So they don't have a record. So, okay, release him on personal recognizance. For that kind of charge, whether you have a history or not of other criminal charges, for that kind of serious charge, there's no chance in hell that I would be released with personal recognizance. No chance in hell. They would give me a high bail, probably like 50 grand, knowing I could never pay 50 grand to get out. It just pisses me the fuck off. It pisses me the actual fuck off. Not cool at all. Why in the actual fuck? You know, I just don't get it. I just don't understand. The fact that some of these cops have gotten away with it, with doing this shit, like the Enrique Delgado stuff just rubbed me the wrong way to begin with. And watching what has happened with all of this has just pissed me off. Yeah, special treatment. Special treatment. Oh, you, ma'am, I'm seeing now my email, sends $20 and sends a heart with your initials. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Maybe I'll put that towards trying to buy the family dinner tonight instead of trying to stand in front of the stove. Like, my brain is like, oh, am I gonna do this? I cannot stand in front of the stove like this. I've been sitting in the chair. My head is like, and I'll tell you, ibuprofen is not working. I need to get some, like, the only thing that ever worked for these kinds of headaches is Excedrin. Anybody else have to take Excedrin? Excedrin was like the only thing that worked. Well, that's the thing, is I would never get that kind of treatment. Neither would any of you. And that's half of the problem with our, legal system nowadays, is special treatment for certain people. It's just not okay. It's just simply not okay. Abso-freaking-lutely. His family deserves better. His family deserves better than this. It's not okay, dude. All the things that family had to go through, yeah, Excedrin is the only thing that's ever worked for me, I'm telling you. I remember when they recalled Excedrin at one point. To me, it's like, at what point, right, does the justice system recognize that they're treating other people with, I mean, I know they recognize it. It just pisses me off. It pisses me the fuck off. Because if this guy had a public defender, there's zero chance he'd have been gone on personal recognizance right now. There's 0% chance. The way that Enrique died, like, is unexplainable to any sort of boxing accident. It's no fucking accident, dude. And that guy had, like, as I was watching the trooper, right? If you notice, even in this clip here, I watched him, like, he has what you would call for boxers, it's called, like, cauliflower. So when you've been punched in the head so many times, the ear tends to, like, deform, and it's what they call cauliflower ear. And I noticed that, like, almost right away. So it's like, it's not like he does boxing once in a while. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty telling. It's just like, why are we giving anybody especially because they were troopers, they should have been held to a higher standard, right? And hold on, where's this? Hold on. There's a clip here about, so that's the thing. They keep saying, like, he died after a training exercise, right? Training exercise. You can call it a fucking training exercise. There's no goddamn exercise, right? This went well beyond a training exercise. You have to remember that was the excuse that was given to Enrique Delgado's family. That was a training exercise. Like, as a family, you're being gaslit at that point. You're not fucking training.
Since the Jeffrey Epstein
yeah, the headgear will too, yeah.
Again, Pam Bondi out as Attorney General. Right
This
now,
is
3 masked state troopers are set to appear in court. They're accused in the death of one of their own.
Now
Enrique Delgado Garcia died after a training exercise at the police academy in September of 2024. Sergeant Jennifer Penton and troopers Edwin Rodriguez and David Montañez were part of the academy's defensive tactics unit, which oversaw the exercise. An investigation from outside the organization found those 3 troopers played a part in the, quote, series of reckless acts in connection with various defensive tactics that were, quote, unauthorized. That prompted this indictment from the grand jury, which included charges of involuntary manslaughter. A 4th trooper, Casey Lamonti, has also been charged. He'll be arraigned on the 14th. All 4 are still employed by state police, but have been suspended with pay. And
suspended with pay. Suspended with fucking pay. Like, I'm sorry, what? Suspended with pay? Like, hey, yeah, you can get paid while you're being charged with this.
Stay with us for team coverage of today's court proceedings. We'll have live reports.
This thing of, like, suspending them with pay when it's very obvious that something, like, I mean, even the state police found that shit happened that was wrong. Why are you suspending them with pay? And I know, obviously, that has to do with, the contracts and all that, but come the fuck on. No one else on planet Earth would get suspended with pay. You'd be fired with no pay.
Starting on the news at 4.
You'd be fired with all what you already made is what you get. That's it. Like,
A UMass Boston.
it just pisses me the fuck off. And then in the last, I'd say 2 weeks, we had some very serious issues with Massachusetts State Police. See, I'll show you guys. Hold on. Being charged with all these different things, right? You get a vacation, you get a vacation, and you, like Oprah style. I wish, dude. I would love that. Imagine if I won a vacation. I would probably just say, like, let me just go to my vacation that I usually go to every year in Saco, which I don't even know if it's possible this year. I might cry about it. I talk about it because I might cry about it. It's the one vacation I get a year. One. And it's only a few days. And I love that vacation. You know, a couple days of floating down the river and enjoying the outdoors, maybe some paddle boarding. And I don't know. It usually happens at the end of July, but with my bills, I don't know if that's going to be possible unless I make some crazy amount in June. All right. So here's, okay. Let me pull it up with the clips here. Of course, it's flooding the officer that just passed away. Victor Moses. Yeah, I forgot about that. So we had a couple state police officers arrested recently from the state police. And why isn't it? I'll type it in like this. And I hate to like start the show with the poor officer that passed away and then move on to like, you know, this, but unfortunately, like we have both sides of the coin happening here, right? And here in Massachusetts, this was just another one was suspended on and indicted on domestic violence charges. Okay. And then right here, suspended Massachusetts police trooper indicted on domestic violence charges. Like, why the fuck? I mean, over the last month, I have seen several news stories of state police troopers suspended, fired, and charged with various crimes. This one is accused of assaulting a woman several times over the course of a turbulent relationship, was indicted by a grand jury late last month. Wendell Senny, 32 of Roslindale, is facing felony charges of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon and strangulation or suffocation. That really hit me hard. My abuser. Suffocation and strangulation were two of the favorites of his. Was to put his, I used to have like a permanent finger mark, like from his thumb, because he would put his thumb here and his fingers here and grab my face. And then he would put his hand over my mouth and nose and try to like suffocate me with one hand. And with the other hand, he would put his hand around my neck to sort of pin me down. And I'm reading this and I'm like, textbook abuse, dude, right? Textbook fucking abuse. Why aren't these people vetted enough before they enter a police force to stop this, right? Because these abusers have very telltale signs, narcissism being one of them, but there are serious telltale signs when someone like this is an abuser. And clearly, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, but they're not vetting them enough with extensive psychosocials and testing to see whether some of these people should even be on the force or not. you know? So he's charged with 3 misdemeanors of 2 counts of assault and battery on a family household member and 1 count of reckless operation of a motor vehicle. He was arraigned in Norfolk Superior Court, and a judge allowed his release on personal recognizance. Another officer allowed out on personal recognizance, with the only condition being he stay away from and have no contact, direct or indirect, with the victim. Well, yeah, because that piece of paper will keep him away. It sure kept my abuser away, not, you know. And of course, the state police put out a statement saying that they stand firmly against all forms of domestic violence. But it's like, you can say all of that. You know, they say all of this shit. Oh, we stand against this and we don't condone this and we don't condone that. But why are so many of your officers, it's not just 1 or 2, but why are so many of your officers dealing with being charged with crimes? To me, it seems like there is a culture of them being able to just get away with whatever they want and do whatever they want. And that is why they behave this way. To me, it seems like the state police has a culture of behaving in this manner. Because normally, you do not see this many officers being charged with this many crimes over this short period, even if you go for the last 2 years. How many of the state police officers in Massachusetts have been charged with a crime? A lot. An astronomical amount compared to other states. There's no reason you should have all of these officers being charged with all of these crimes, you know? So this was one instance, right? This was one. Here's another. Hold on. Why is my mouse not cooperating with me here? Hold on. Hello, little mouse. Cooperate. The 4 indicted police officers, it says, and of course, Enrique's case are, quote, good people. The defense said, yeah, good people. Good people don't let people fucking die or do things that are that dangerous that could kill them. I mean, it's definitely an issue, you know? Yeah, brain aneurysm my fucking ass. And that's the other thing. Like, why all the lies at this point? You know, like, why? Just why? Why the fuck do we have the constant hiding and lying? Why not be open? We're going to find out one way or another, you know? It's crazy. Routine physical tactics training, you know, recruits dying on trainings. This is not normal, you know, at all. At all. So right now we have a lot of the articles right now are from the trooper that just passed away this morning, which is so very sad. And of all accounts, that guy was a good guy, and was a good cop. And so it's like, you know, these other cops are the ones that give cops like that a bad name. I mean, look at the Sandra Birchmore stuff. The brothers were both cops, right? And there were multiple other officers involved in the abuse of Sandra Birchmore. They abused their power, the Farwells, along with the the deputy chief, Robert Devine, and the other guy there from fucking Abington. Like, all cops, you know, there was a Massachusetts State Police Officer, Samantha Pellerine, arrested for alleged abuse. This was a month ago. Charges against Massachusetts police officer and her husband have cost her both her badge and her freedom. This one was bad. This was a horrible, this case. This one made my stomach turn. Okay? It made my stomach turn. The charges against a Massachusetts police officer and her husband have cost her both her badge and her freedom, and the criminal case is still in its early stages. Samantha Pellerine, a Plymouth Police Department officer, had her law enforcement and certification suspended on March 30th, 2026 by the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission, that's the Post Commission, after she and her husband, Daniel Foran, were charged with years of alleged sexual and physical abuse of a minor in their care. Both have pleaded not guilty. The alleged victim, who's now 21, claimed in court documents that he met the couple through his aunt, who attended the same church, according to an abuse prevention order in court that was filed. Pauline, 31, and Foran, 37, took the child in when he was 12 years old and became his legal guardians. The accuser alleges sexual and physical abuse began soon after. In the court filings, the alleged victim stated that Pauline and Foran both sexually assaulted me until 2025 and physically assaulted me until 2026. During the arraignment, prosecutors claimed the couple abused the boy beginning when he was 14 years old, and it continued for several years. The name for that is grooming, the prosecutor told the judge, Kristen Stone. They're looking for me, and I'm scared for my safety, the alleged victim said for the affidavit. They've been charged with 3 felony counts of aggravated rape of a child with force and 1 count of aggravated statutory rape of a child. And Foran faces 20 charges, including rape of a child, indecent assault and battery on a person 14 and over, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. If found guilty, both face a statutory minimum sentence of 15 years in prison. Like, no. Just fucking no. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't raise awareness, then what? It just hides in the dark, you know? It just hides in the dark. Yeah, I agree. I don't see anybody speaking up about it either, you know? But when we have a multitude of officers, state police and local police, that are being arrested for things like this, and then the judge imposed a $10,000 cash bail for her and a $25,000 cash bond for him. They were both ordered not to contact the victim or anybody under 18, and they were required to surrender their passports and firearms. She cried during the arraignment, of course, and he was photographed with a blank expression. I can't. She was placed on paid administrative leave on March 17th. She joined the department in 2022 and was assigned to patrol at the time. I can't. I mean, this is who the judges is a whole nother issue, you know? I feel like, again, part of the problem here in Massachusetts is our judges are not voted in. They are not voted in. They are, you know, appointed, and then they get away with doing all sorts of shit that they shouldn't be allowed to do at all. And they don't get voted out when they do whatever they want, unfortunately. And so that creates a, dare I say, a culture of even judges just doing whatever they want, not following what they're supposed to be following. And then if all the other judges follow that, then they never get held accountable for the things that they're doing incorrectly or wrong. And that creates a bigger fucking problem, obviously, you know, for obvious reasons. And I think it's really fucking sad at this point. It's really fucking sad that what we're dealing with here in Massachusetts is a lot of law enforcement not doing its job, or the court system not doing its job. It sure as hell would throw me in the clink and lock me up and throw away the fucking key if I was a part of any of that, right? But the second it becomes an officer, a judge, another attorney, someone they don't want to deal with, like Aiden, right? It's almost like they want to turn the other cheek. They want to turn away and be like, I don't really want to deal with that. So we're going to sweep it under the rug. Well, no more sweeping. No more fucking sweeping. Because if we don't do something and talk about it and demand, not just ask, but demand accountability, then what happens? Nothing happens. That's the point. Nothing happens if we do nothing, you know? That's a good point. I would love to know, you know? I mean, I know what their old stuff looks like. You can, you know, ask Leah. She obviously was a trooper here. And that's the other thing. Like, you guys lost a good trooper based on what? Based on you allowing, once again, the sewer turtle to fucking harass and defame, and you couldn't even stand up for your own officer when they didn't do something wrong. Never mind when they do. You know? even when they fucking don't do anything wrong, you guys, instead of standing up for your officer, decided you were going to throw her under a bus because you don't want to deal with Aiden. Like, so you're not standing up for your good officers, right? And your bad ones are just getting away with whatever they want until it's in the public light. And then when it does become in the public light, you try to sweep that under the rug. So it looks like y'all are doing a lot of sweeping over there at the state police and the other local PDs. A lot of sweeping is happening. A lot of sweeping under the rug or not wanting to deal with things. Well, that's what you fucking signed up for. Y'all signed up for that. Even the local PDs, like, Cheltenham shouldn't have to deal with the local PD. She should be able to go to the state police and be like, you're the ones who have been investigating fucking Aiden and his nonsense this whole time. What are you guys going to do about it? Right? But what will the state police tell you to do? The state police will take your statement on him, but then they'll tell you to go to your local PD. Half the time you walk through your local PD's office and they go, and you try to tell them what's going on. And because it's so convoluted, because it's so crazy, right? Because no normal human acts this way. Because it's like that, they automatically assume it's something they can't deal with or something they don't want to. And a lot of the time, what comes out of the officer's mouth is something along the lines of, oh, that's a civil matter. We can't help you. And then if you're pushy enough, you're like, well, can you just please look at my evidence? Because it's not a civil matter. It's actually a criminal matter. And they'll just gaslight you. No, it's civil. We can't help you because they don't want to deal with it. Right. Which forces you into either not doing anything, or if you know better, to try to go to the court and file charges yourself and hope that a clerk finds probable cause. But if you don't know to do that, then you just assume that if the cops aren't going to help you and they're going to say it's a civil matter, there's nothing you can do. That's how he's been allowed to operate this long, right? And so what do people like Jen or Nan or any of his other victims do if their local PD is not bothering to deal with it because they don't even know what it is? They don't even let you get out a quarter of the story before they're not following, they don't understand, and they just assume that you're having some tiff with someone online, and that makes it a simple matter. They don't understand the nuances or how long this has been going on or how many victims there are, or that it's actually, cyber stalking, criminal harassment, and, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, lots of housekeeping, Yeah, that case is extremely sad. I've covered it a few times. Sandra Birchmore's case really gets me. It really fucking gets me. Having to deal with abuse as a kid is something I can relate to. And Sandra didn't deserve that, and neither did her unborn child. And what did she get for just, she got killed. And then even then, our systems couldn't get it right? Our systems could not rule her death a homicide. They ruled it a suicide because they had officers involved. And I fully believe that's why they did it, because in no other scenario would you call someone's death a suicide that has a thing tied around their neck and it tied to the handle of a closet, and you're sitting down. You're not standing up, you're not hanging from the ceiling, you're sitting down and your neck is, that is how they found her. In no other instance, that's what we call, that's the kind of stuff that I used to have to deal with in working at the prison, where we'd have to cut people down when they were trying to hurt themselves, is they would tie like a bed sheet to like one of the legs of their bed and then around their neck, and they would pull. And so we'd have to go in there and cut it, right? They weren't necessarily hanging from something, but they would pull enough that they were hurting themselves into choking themselves until they passed out or whatever. And so we'd have to go in there with this tool. It looks like a hook essentially, and it would cut through it. And so it's more like what we would call like a jail suicide, except she's in her own house. There would be no reason to tie it to a doorknob of a closet and sit forward, especially when basic instincts, and this is what the medical examiner and the police told me when my dad died, and my dad was actually hanging, is that your automatic instincts, even after you do it, is to reverse, be like, no, I don't want to do this anymore, and try to grab at where you tied it around yourself. So a lot of the times they'll find scratch marks or finger marks of someone trying to actually pull it away after they've chosen to after they're hanging there, after they've chosen to pull it away. All she would have had to do is sit back maybe and put her fingers in. So it's like they didn't find any of that. They didn't find any of that. None of it. And so there were far too many instances in Sandra Birchmore's case where they could have called it a homicide with all the evidence they had, and still they ruled it a suicide. Now that's just suspicious to me, right? Because everyone on planet Earth knew that that wasn't a suicide. Everyone on planet Earth. We've been screaming it from the rooftops since they ruled it that. Why rule something a suicide you know definitely probably is not a suicide? You know? Like, what in the fuck? I agree with that, you know? It's just sad, you know? On my personal plate. The fact that you ran your own personal plate and they took that away because you ran your own plate is fucking hilarious. But, like, do they talk about the awards that you won as an officer? Do they talk about all the great work that you did as an officer? Like, that's my point is, what the fuck? Like, why did you have to suffer? Because they didn't want to say what they knew was right. They knew when they hired you that you had testified against someone. Why is that a problem? Does that magically make you unhireable? No. They knew. They hired you. And instead of just saying, yep, we knew, we hired her anyway, like, and had your back, when a blogger writes a fake story about you, they didn't give you any support. They did not fucking do that. And so what? You give up your career, which is what you did. You gave up your career because of a fucking moron who sits behind a computer screen, is paid to write stories about people he doesn't know is true or not. All the MSP had to do was actually back up their officer they knew did nothing wrong. They knew. And they couldn't even do that in a basic circumstance. Never mind dealing with the things we're talking about now, which are, you know, dealing with deaths that clearly are not a suicide, or, you know, dealing with a lot of bad actors when it comes to the state police lately, right? Like, what the fuck are they doing over there? You know? What the fuck are they doing over there? You should always be proactive, and I just feel like a lot of it gets swept under the rug, you know? No, that's the other thing. And this is why I say, like, our judges, they can't have biannual. That's what they have right now. Right now, their class on coercive control is biannual, and I can guarantee you it's probably less than an hour long on the part that they use of coercive control. I'm sorry, but that's not sufficient. That judge clearly not only didn't know anything about the internet, but clearly could not see Darbo sitting right in front of him, could not see the coercive control, could not see the abuse victim fighting back, sitting right in front of him. That's a problem to me. We cannot have judges on the bench that don't know what the fuck coercive control is. We can't have judges on the bench that are not well trained on Darbo, because if he was well trained, he would have seen it from a mile away, like most of us do. Anybody who's dealt with an abuser can see that shit with Aiden coming from a fucking mile away at this point, you know? And that's the other thing. I honestly think some of these times, like, all of a sudden the judges get switched last minute and then it's favorable towards Aiden. Like, I'm sorry, but I've thought for a while something fishy is going on there, you know? Something fishy is going on. And that's what makes it really hard for me to trust the system. Oh, he's absolutely obsessed with Leah. He's obsessed with Leah. He's obsessed with Meredith. You know, he doesn't want to admit that's what it is, but that's the only reason why he goes after them. It's the same reason why he goes after people like me. He's too worried about what I'm going to say and if people are actually going to believe the truth or not. And he has no way to shut me up. I work for you guys, right? My paycheck comes from you on whatever I make on a stream, right? So realistically, he can't call my job and get me fired, you know? He has no way to control me or silence me or shut me up, and that irks the fuck out of him. It absolutely irks the actual fuck out of him. You know, again, the fact that he pocket watches everyone is fucking crazy. He pocket watches Mike. He pocket watches Brian. He pocket watches me. You know, and they make more money than I do. Mike and Brian, they have bigger channels, right? I don't make anywhere close to what they make. And so it's like, why are you pocket watching such a small channel? Like me, for instance, why are you pocket watching such a small channel? Why do I get to you so much? Maybe it's because I'm telling the truth. And you'd think for 1 second that some of his cultists, like, it would click in your mind, like, wait a second, why does she bother him so much? Like, why? Like, duh, you know, duh. I know you are, girl. But for the rest of his victims, it's disheartening that our system isn't doing their portion of being able to, you know, do what they're supposed to keep people safe, because I fully believe had they charged him a long time ago, I've sat with state police a few times with other victims, and they've given statements, they've signed those statements, they've given evidence, and the state police chose to do nothing. If they had charged him with those crimes way back when, he wouldn't have been able to make future victims. And there's been like 8 or 10 since or more. So at what point are they liable and responsible for doing their fucking job? You know? I feel like he'll never stop mentioning you. Because again, I feel like he sees in you and other people everything that he wants to be and never will be, right? Kindness, empathy, intelligence, good relationships with people, and he'll never have those. And so he wants to destroy something that he doesn't have. It's that simple, you know? Also, when my husband asked me what I wanted for Mother's Day, I looked at him and let's just put it this way. My husband's not a great gift giver if I don't like give him a list of things that I might want. I'll pick out some wild thing, hoping that it's something I want, and it'll be something like I already have or something like, you know what I mean? Like he's not good at that kind of stuff. So, oh my God, absolutely. He gets so mad. Like once in a blue moon, and I'll literally say once in a blue moon, I'll get like a large donation, like maybe once every 6 months or so, and he loses his ever loving fucking marbles, dude. I'm like, dude, I don't know why you watch my pockets, dude. I'm a poor person. Like, I don't want to watch my fucking pockets, dude. That's makes no sense to me whatsoever, at all. None at all. It's crazy talk to me. But when my husband asked me, I was like, how about I just send you my wish list, babe? How about I just send you my wish list? So I literally just sent him it, and I was like, you know, I do like that pink mini fridge. I'm gonna go pink mini fridge for my office, babe. But to be fair, there's no chance in hell that even if when he gets paid on Thursday, by the time he orders that, it's not gonna be here on Mother's Day. So I looked. Yeah, maybe he lurks in the chat, but there's no intel for him to get, you know? They switch judges when another judge is like busy with something, or the head judge is allowed to like pick if they want to take the case or if they want to give it to another judge. Again, there's a reason why I believe they need to be, you know, they need to be like voted in instead of it being a thing where they're, you know, appointed by the governor's council, because it just doesn't work that way, you know? It hasn't worked in a long time here. Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the other thing. Can you bet your ass that if one of the victims were a judge's daughter or a judge's son or a high up politician's daughter or a politician's son or, you know, someone super important with a lot of connections, you can bet your ass they'd do something about it even real fucking quick and they'd charge him. That's the part that gets me. That's the fucking part that gets me. As if it was someone like that, they'd have done something about it a long fucking time ago. You know? He literally is, you know? He called Nick Rocco last night. Shut the fuck up. He called Nick. Oh my God, I can't. I can't. Oh, I can't. He actually called Nick. I fucking can't. Yeah, he definitely would have been like losing his mind, you know? He called Nick. I can't believe he fucking did that. I can't believe he fucking did that. I'm a terrible gift giver. I bet you're not. I bet you're not. My husband's not a great gift giver, but he knows that. You know what I mean? He knows that. At least he knows that, you know? I love gift giving. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I like to make someone's day like brighter, you know, even if it's like sending them pizza. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's like I have their direct address and I send them like crumble cookies or something. Like, when I have the extra money, I like doing things like that. I haven't had it in a while, but when I do have the extra money, I do like doing things like that for people. And I just want them to know that like they're appreciated and I think about them. And I don't know, I like giving gifts. I'm a fucking weirdo like that, you know? I feel like guys in general probably have a harder time with it. I did watch some of the stuff on Dick's trial because I was in bed, but I also was like with a fever of 102.5, half falling asleep during some of it. So I had to go back and watch, you know, what I was missing when I was falling asleep. But I've been eating egg on toast for 2 days. My husband, my room service guy has been making for me because I haven't really been able to eat anything heavy. The judge is going to eat the victim. True that. I mean, once in a while you do find, like, and you're like, what the fuck is actually going on here? You know, like, he put Nick's number on the, that's a dog whistle. I love working with a rich. See, that's what I mean. Like, this is the first time I've ever said to my husband, like, I'm just going to send you my wish list, babe. Like, just take the wish list, you know? So let me tell you exactly why he called Nick and went after Nick. And I will literally put this in a nutshell for you. Okay. Here's why. Aiden, for 2+ years, had Karen at his beck and call, right? He talked to her every single day. She would give him information. She would tell him what to put out, what not to put out. Like, you can't talk about this, but you can talk about this. And he would do that, right? He would talk about this thing, but not this thing. Sometimes he would go off course and talk about something he wasn't supposed to, and Karen would get pissed, right? But for 2 years, he would take screenshots of their conversations. He would take screenshots of their signal messages, and he would send them to other people. And he would say, look at what Karen said. Basically, I'm so cool. Karen contacts me every day, and look at what she said, and look at how cool I am. And for 2 years, what Karen told him to put out, he put out. And that was that. Now, because of all the things he has done, she can't stand him. And so it really bothers him when Nick goes, well, you're just mad because I still talk to Karen. Nick's right. He is just mad. He is just fucking mad. Like, bottom line is he is just angry. He's just fucking jealous. Like, literally, he is jealous. That's his problem, is he is jealous of Nick having a relationship with Karen, right? For 2 years, Aiden tried to control what information about the Karen Reed case came out and who had it. So if you had information on the case he didn't have, and I experienced this personally, if you gave that information to the public without telling him what it was first so that he could give it to the public, he threw a fucking tantrum like a child. If you put it out there publicly and it was good information and he didn't want anyone to listen to you because he didn't put it out there, he would tell his audience it wasn't true when it was. I reported on Natalie having immunity when she first got the deal with the prosecution and the fact that she had immunity. I was the first person to publicly disclose that information, and I had, proof of it, obviously, and before I put it out there. And so he blew a fucking gasket because I put that information out on my channel. He did not have that information first. He knew nothing about it. He knew that she probably did have immunity, and I was probably 100% right because of what had happened behind closed doors, right? He went on his show and with a straight face lied to thousands of people and said, no, that's not true. That didn't happen. She wouldn't have a reason to have immunity. He knew damn well that of course she would have a reason to have immunity, being the intermediary between him and Karen, right? He knew that that was more likely than not 100% true. Yet he got up there and he fucking lied because he wasn't the one to give that information out. Afterwards, he sent so many personal messages to people raging the fuck out that I had given that information first. And how dare I? I should have told him so that he could give the information because it's him that's doing the case. Now, publicly, he would say, I don't control this case. This isn't my case. This isn't my story to tell, blah, blah, blah. Privately, he was doing the complete opposite of that. Privately, he was trying to control who said what and when, and that everyone should give him the information first. If you didn't, you threw a fucking bitch fit, which is part of the reason why the two Facebooks separated at that time. Because Aiden was throwing a bitch fit about what he could control and what he couldn't control. That's what led to him threatening Nick and Jenna Rocco, and then through them, Karen, because she wouldn't give him a court seat. He threatened Nick because, well, Nick, you're going to get her to give me a court seat. If you don't get her to give me a court seat, I'm going to write a blog about you. And at that point, I remember Jenna told him, write the fucking blog. I don't give a fuck, Aiden. Write it. I don't fucking care, right? You're not going to bully people and throw tantrums because you didn't get what you wanted. They have no control over Karen giving you a seat or not. If she doesn't want to give you a seat, guess what? Nick Rocco's not going to make her do it, right? It's her choice. He was so angry that he didn't get a court seat that he was willing to threaten Karen with, I'm going to go to Tully with everything I know if you don't get me a court seat. Okay? That was back in the first trial, folks. The first trial. there was more of that behavior all the way through. All right. All the way through. All the fucking way through. You know? This is not something new. So his like stuff where he's freaking out, well, he had already signed up, but he had been denied a media pass like 4 or 5 times previous to the Karen retrial. They had been like, yeah, you're not fucking media, and basically told him no until his lawyer like appealed and then threatened to sue or whatever it was. Then they finally issued him one. But up until that point, he had been, the superfan blogger Adam had been told no a bunch of times by the SJC of getting any sort of press pass. My nail just broke. He does have an inferiority. You're 100% right, Rose. Complex. And he does. He acts to suppress information. I hope you remember that, because that was back in the day. But most people will remember that happening. Yeah, he does self-sabotage. Want to know why? Because he thinks it's going to hurt someone else. So he doesn't care what he says or when he says it, as long as he thinks it's going to hurt the other person. He doesn't think it through, knowing it's going to come back and bite him. Doesn't really like. It doesn't compute in his head at that point. All he cares about is hurting the person he's trying to hurt, right? And so, you know, all through this time, he's threatening people. His big problem with Nick right now is exactly what it is, which is Nick talks to Karen and he doesn't. That's it. That's the problem. Aiden is jealous that Nick talks to Karen. That's his problem. And so now he's going to do everything on planet Earth to sit there and be like, Nikki haircuts, Nikki haircuts, Nikki haircuts. Like, I don't know why. Like, listen, my uncle Wade was a hairdresser. Okay. He owned a salon in Holbrook for 30 years before he died. Okay. And my Uncle Wade, great Uncle Wade, made a decent living running his own salon. He bought his home with it. He, you know, raised his family doing it. Like, listen, I'm not friends with Nick Rocco, and we don't believe the same thing in the case, obviously, but it's kind of weird to try to insult someone based on their profession when you, sir, were literally walked out by the police as a disgraced teacher. Like, then you want to try to shit on someone else's profession. You know, he's the only one obsessed with the fact that I used to be a dancer. So him and his fake accounts are always like, oh, you're just a washed up stripper. Like, first of all, sir, to be a washed up stripper would mean that like I was still dancing. Like, I retired when I was 28. 10 years of dancing, I retired. So you can't be a washed up stripper when you retired, you know, a decade ago, but just saying. Like, he's the only one obsessed with the fact that I was a dancer. Now, previous to me telling you guys and telling like the world, because it's not a secret. It wasn't even a secret to my grandmother. I've never kept a secret that I was a dancer because I'm not ashamed of it, and I never will be. I am proud of where I came from. I'm proud of all the lessons I've learned along the way, the people I've helped along the way, what they've taught me, what I've taught them, and so on and so forth. And I'm never, ever, ever going to be insulted by being like, you were a stripper. Yep, sure was. Meanwhile, he's sending unsolicited dick pics and sex videos to women, hoping they like it enough to tell him they want to do it. Okay? And I kid you not, that's what he said. When a woman asked him why, that's what he said. That's what he said, why he sends them to women. Unsolicited, he's sending him and another woman to a third woman, hoping that she likes what she sees and wants to do that. That's fucking bonkers. You know, he's sending unsolicited dick pics and unsolicited fucking sex videos to people, and I'm getting paid to dance. Like, sorry, not sorry, you're just jealous, bro. You know, Mike pointed out one time, he's like, maybe he's just like, you know, he thinks about you sexually, like when you were a dancer, and he's just jealous and upset. Like, I'm like, wouldn't fucking shock me, but ew. He is the King Ratchet. Literally King Ratchet. But he's gross. He's a pig, right? That's the bottom line. And it's like, bro, no one else is obsessed with the fact that I was a dancer but you, buddy. Not ashamed. So while he tries to shame Nick for being a hairdresser, and while he tries to shame me for being a former dancer, like, no one's insulted, bro. It's some weird insult. It's some weird fucking, like, in his brain, it's an insult. To us, we're just laughing. It's like, bro, you're not insulting me. I made a living for a long time. I took care of my family and extra people with the money that I made, right? I paid for college. Like, not ashamed, bud. After that, I went into a career in corrections. Like, not ashamed. Not sorry. Like, sorry, not sorry. You never, ever, ever, ever are going to catch me being ashamed of that. So your insults are a joke. And to Nick, I would assume it's a joke. Like, you can try to insult people all you want, but the things that he thinks are insults, normal people are like, and what does that mean exactly? Like, bro, you were walked out of your teaching job by the fucking police. You're a degenerate. A literal fucking degenerate. My legs are strong, girl. They're strong. Played soccer, cheerleading, volleyball. I have strong ass legs. I'll tell you that much. Takes a lot of like leg strength to do a lot of the tricks that you have to do. But I played sports for a really long time, so I have really strong legs. Not so much on my upper anymore, but my legs are super strong until they start feeling like jelly with all the inflammation nowadays. But I feel like I don't have long legs though. I'm only 5'4". I'm short. I'm kind of short, but right. Work is work. It's not a new concept. And a lot of the times when people are like shitting on him, they're like, oh, bro, you beg for money online. And it's like, I kind of take offense to that in a way, because I think there's a big difference between what the fuck Aiden does and what other people do. A lot of other people actually put some thought into their content, and they're doing other things behind the scenes to help go dig into things. And he doesn't do any of that. Right. So it's like, might not consider YouTube a 9-to-5 job or a traditional job, but it is a job, right? It is a job. You don't have to consider it one if you don't want, but I surely do when I'm sitting at this table, at this desk for many hours before and after a stream doing, records requests and trying to like plan out certain things. And so it's a lot for someone like me to sit there and say like it's not a job, because I never had a real traditional 9-to-5. Even when I worked at the prison, I didn't work 9 to 5, and I worked a lot of overtime, mandatory overtime. But he definitely is, and he definitely had some weird sex thing for Karen. Like, we all know that. That's not a secret. He can deny till the cows come home, but he wrote the love letter. He talked about having a threesome with her. He's a fucking weirdo, a fucking absolute weirdo. Work is work, right? It's the bottom line is it doesn't matter whether it's a 9-to-5 or not. I've never actually, I don't think any of my careers were traditional in the traditional sense, but it's what works for me and my family. Being disabled the way I am now, not having a car, like there are many things that keep me from being able to work a regular 9-to-5. A lot of it's physical nowadays. I can't do the physical jobs that I did for so long when I worked at the prison. Like, that's a very physical job, and I can't do that job anymore. Because of all the stuff I got going on with my body, and it's just not cooperating. It's breaking down on me, essentially. And that's not my fault. I didn't cause it. It happened. And I never thought, obviously, in my 30s that I would be disabled. I don't think anybody asks for that, right? And so I struggle like everyone else on planet Earth struggles. When Aiden first started his channel, he struggled to make a living, right? You got to start somewhere. You have to. You have to start somewhere. You just absolutely have to. And you start at the bottom. You work your way up. And it could take years and years to get there. And so I do what I can, right? And I don't take anything that he says seriously, because we're talking about a man who was a teacher who got walked out by the police. Anything he has to say about someone else's career is fucking in one ear and out the other. Anything he has to say about anybody else's living situation after living on his wife's couch for how long and then living in a rented house. Like, you just bought a house at 40-something years old because of one case. Because of one case. You're probably going to have to sell that house with all the lawsuits you got coming. You already got 2. There's more on the way. So, I mean, what is he going to end up in all of this? And all of this damage that he did to other people's lives, what is he going to end up with? Nothing. He's going to end up fucking bankrupt. He's going to end up bankrupt because he made those choices that he made. Because he cares more about trying to shit on someone else than he does doing the right fucking thing. There's a reason why he has no relationships, no real life relationships, no real life friendships, Yeah, they absolutely possibly could be witnesses against him because of the communications that they had with him. That would suck. That would suck. Well, there's no privilege because they weren't his legal team, but it's still he still illegally wiretapped them. There's a lot of nuances to this, and especially with like Karen's legal team could possibly be witnesses. Like I told you guys before, like this is a whole nother realm. Like he's not getting out of this unscathed, right? He's got criminal and civil, and there's more to come. And it's like, well, they'll go bankrupt too, to be fair. But I mean, again, if they want to burn their money, go for it. If they want to flush it down a toilet, go for it. I just, if they want to. Yeah, they said he was only 30. I said the same thing. He was so young. But I mean, let's see if Nick said something back. Because sharing his number, that's a dog whistle. I didn't know that happened. I don't watch Aiden streams. You guys know I can't fucking stomach it. So people will send me what they think is important and then whatever. But I won't deal with watching his streams because I mean he's just fucking a weirdo. Let's see replies. But why the fuck, like his dog whistles are putting people's names, phone numbers, addresses, where they work, where they live, like out on his stream. And then everyone takes the dog whistle that watches him and goes and harasses these people. Okay. Yeah, he shared the phone number. All right, let's see. I want to bet if that TV kept Nick's name out of his mouth, Nick would do the same. What a lame comment. Well, that's the thing. Nick wouldn't have to say anything if Aiden wasn't attacking him. So TV muted some of Nick's number. Yeah, well, we know how he fucking works, You know how, yeah, I can't, listen, I can't. The amount of gaslighting that Aiden does is triggering, okay? That man gaslights and spins and narrates more than anyone I've ever seen, okay? Oh, this was Nick replying to Aiden. He said, again, you say male hairdresser like it's an insult. At least I don't cry like a bitch on the floor kicking and screaming. Nick, do you mean like this, sir? I'm just wondering if you mean that you don't do things like this.
Can you please go back? Can you please go back?
Yeah, I think Nick's right. Most people don't cry like a bitch on the floor. One of his followers, right, tried to do the whole, oh, it's PTSD, and how dare you, Nikki haircuts, make fun of PTSD. And I'm sorry, I saw the comment, and I had to say something. I'm like, listen, lady, let's be honest here. Please don't speak about something you know nothing about, right? Any one of us that has PTSD or CPTSD or, panic and anxiety knows that is not what the fuck that was. That was a drunken toddler tantrum designed to control someone and their behavior and their responses. It's a manipulation tactic. That is what Aiden was doing. There is no PTSD in that tantrum. It's not PTSD. It was never PTSD. And so, of course, this person's like, how do you know I don't have PTSD? Go back to your shitty popcorn and your headbands. And I'm like, oh, ouch, what a burn. What shall I ever do? The cult doesn't like my amazing popcorn machine. Oh, wait. Like, is that real life? That's a tantrum. It's not PTSD. And so I responded by basically saying, if you're going to call that PTSD, you're either lying to yourself or you're brainwashed. Because anybody who did have PTSD would know immediately that is not PTSD in any form or fashion. And of course, they try to be like, oh, PTSD hits people differently. Yes, it sure does. People can have different symptoms. They absolutely can. But that was not PTSD. He has also, I had to remind them that he has also admitted it wasn't PTSD in a stream just days later after he claimed that it was. They seem to forget that happened, right? But of course, they still doubled down after that. Like, oh, it's PTSD. It's not PTSD. Okay? Not even a little. Of course he was proud. Not even close to PTSD. I've lived with PTSD for 2 fucking decades. Okay? I know many, many people who have it and have all sorts of different symptoms.
Can you please go back? Can you please go back?
That ain't it. Okay? That ain't it. That's manipulation. That's a drunken tantrum made for manipulation. He's also done the same kind of shit previously to other girlfriends. He has threatened to unalive himself with 3 of the exes for attention. When they said they needed space or they wanted to be alone, he would pretend he's going to hurt himself if they are alone. 2 of them, he told them they didn't need space. Okay? This is a pattern of behavior with him. It's a pattern. Okay? Pat, right? I was going to say, my 8-year-old doesn't even throw these kinds of tantrums. My niece does. She's one. She's one. What does that tell you, right? Please do go back. Like, please fucking go back soon, ASAP. For the fucking love of everything that is good, don't drop the soap while you're there. You fucking clown. So, this person here is hella mad. This British lady is mad. She calls Nick Twatto. Oh, is that supposed to be a burn? He's jumped on the discrimination against Dr. Turtleboy. Yeah, let me just explain something to you, British bitch. That's your name, so I'm just going to say it. That's your name. There's no discrimination or defamation happening against him. Okay? He's done all these things to himself. You have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't understand why you people literally will do anything to get a pat on the head from him. This man would not piss on you if you were on fire at his front doorstep. He would throw you straight under the bus if he thought he could get away with his own crimes. He would blame it on a stranger. He would blame it on his own family. The fact that they don't get this is wild to me. He's already demonstrated what he would do. And they just don't get it. Like, I can't. Nick's right in this. He's responding to someone. He says, I was on the phone with him. Jenna was right next to me and heard the whole thing. You're just another Turtle Boy fan that needs to defend him at all costs. It's weird. It is fucking weird. It is weird. It is fucking weird. This person's like, oh, this is who follows Nick, as if that you can control who follows you. That's fucking, like, come on, dude. If he didn't run his mouth all the time, there would be no reason for me to say anything. My name is consistently mentioned out of his mouth, and when I say something back, people like you think I'm the bad guy. You're delusional. So that's a theme, right? Meredith says something, she's the bad person. When Lindsay said something, she was the bad person. Like, anybody defends themselves. Jen says something, she's the bad person. Nan says something, she's the bad person. If anybody says anything to defend themselves against Aiden and his cult, they should shut up and just go away and just let Aiden talk shit until the end of time and lie, and you should just go away. It's your fault. The victim, it's your fault. You should shut up and go away. Just keep letting him do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants, even if it's harmful or untrue. That's fucking delusional, bro. The fact that people actually say that, like repeat that because he said it, is fucking delulu. Delulu. Discrimination. It's the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. Discrimination against the turtles. Stop it. I'm guessing this is, let's see. Can't. Yeah, so not for nothing, but he's been talking about Nick for well over a year, here and there. He takes little digs. Aiden Kearney's an unprofessional embarrassment to bloggers and journalists alike. He's been obsessing over Nick Rocco since the minute Karen dropped him for Nick. He felt his turf had been trampled on, and there are actual embarrassing texts floating around proving Aiden was willing to make up lies out of a complete whole cloth and say he kicked Nick and his wife out of a Facebook group because they, quote, stole money from Karen's defense fund. Yeah, he was going to do that if they didn't do what he wanted. And that's, again, in his extraction. He was going to claim they did something they didn't do to get people to turn on them because they didn't do what he wanted. Now, where do we know that that's a theme with him? A literal lie that he admits he's making up out of thin air to cover the fact that Aiden Corney hates Nick Rocco. What a fucking simpleton. To be fair, it'd be better to ignore him because the narcissist thrives on conflict to get attention. That's true, they do, but at the same time, you can't just ignore this shit. It's at some point where you just simply can't keep ignoring the bullshit. You just simply fucking can't. If he doesn't stop talking about fucking Nan's son, dude, like, first of all, why are you talking about a minor child? Secondly, Nan's son is the best name ever. His name's Blaze. That is fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome. Like, you're just fucking jealous. Because you're a simpleton. Why are you so jealous all the time, Aiden? It's fucking weird, guy. We all need to get stage 5 clinger whistles. I'm going to start buying everyone stage 5 clinger whistles he attacks and send them to them in the mail. We can all get on a stream together and start blowing the whistle every time he talks about one of us. I feel like it would just be a stream of just whistle blowing. Just whistle blowing. Stage 5 clinger. I mean, that's the thing. Not only are they defending a grown-ass man, they're defending a grown-ass man who's lying to their faces. So you're defending him. He knows he's making you look like a fool, right? Every person who's defending him, he knows he's making them look foolish and stupid. He doesn't care. That's the part that gets me is he doesn't care how many people look fucking stupid. He knows ultimately that the truth is going to come out. And every person that sat there and defended him to no end is going to look dumb as fuck. And he doesn't care. Doesn't care enough to ever just admit one thing he does wrong and be like, sorry guys, made a mistake. Nope. He lets all those people look stupid as fuck later on. It's insane. But there is no free speech. When he is trying to actively censor speech, that's not free speech. He's not for free speech. He's about his speech. There's a difference. Okay? If he was about free speech, he wouldn't be calling people's jobs. He wouldn't be using people's fucking names as a dog whistle. He wouldn't be trying to shut every person up. Oh, hold on a second. I feel nauseous. Hold on. Please hold. You know when your mouth stops watering and you just feel like super nauseous? That's what just happened. I'm not digging this whole being sick thing. I'm not digging it at all. It's mostly like my head and my stomach. Like I'm actually glad I'm not getting like upper respiratory, although I've been coughing and I can feel it in my throat, so I'm hoping it doesn't go up into the upper respiratory. Let it go. He doesn't know how to let anything go. And it's weird to be making fun of a minor child. Like, what? Who the fuck do you think you are? That kid is awesome, if not simply for his mother's brave, and as at least he's been taught to not take people's fucking bullshit. I have daughters, and I taught each of them to be kind to people, but also not to take people's bullshit. Do not allow people to stomp all over you. Oh God, is this the dispatch recording? I'm playing it.
1961's on 60 year Red Cloud, Washington Ave, Chelsea. Calvin and North Street 1. Past Militia Tunnel. Station A, I'm logged in on Route 1 in a second. Code 16, code 16. Head on. It's going to be Route 1 northbound, just prior to the tunnel. 2233 coming up from Walnut Street. 23960 from Walnut. Leave non. For Route 16.
It's the officer that just died. And the head-on collision is just... It's dispatch. You can't...
1958 is unconscious. They went the wrong way.
He's unconscious.
What was the cruiser number that was struck? 1958, 1958.
EMS en route.
1513 en route from Acton. Show me around.
It's horrible.
I'm going to traffic on 841. Station 8, you can tell EMS is stepping up and set fire. The door is sealed. We can't get it out if you're out of that cruiser.
Oh, I can't get him out of the cruiser.
I'm over me, bro. Trainer! 2394. 4 ways to H4 on a 4 bus line.
Oh, it's horrible.
Other operator is also unconscious. Tell him to step it up. They've been advised over vapor. Okay, what have you got for you? Yeah, cruisers coming in. Let's start tapering the traffic on this crest here to avoid any additional 16s.
Horrible.
Just before Noria. What's that, Jerry? You on here? Affirmative. Great, sir. EMS on scene, yes. Ma'am, I can hear them on the scanner. They're trying to reroute them, see if they can just come south. Yeah, affirmative. We gotta get him back quick. Caught smoking. Alright, I'm gonna shut traffic down here. I'm coming up north. That way they can come down the wrong way.
Yeah, wrong way driver.
They've been advised for hold twice. 631. We're starting route. 1961 is 6, I'll be on 4. This is on Route 1 North. 1961, we gotta keep one lane open here for any fire trucks or anything. I'm gonna back up. Go to the vehicle, I'll be on 711 now.
That was the end of that. Well, that's just sad. They couldn't get him out of the car, and they were waiting for EMS, but they couldn't get him out of his trooper, out of his car. They said we can't get Trooper Turner. I'm like yelling his name, of course, and I'm sure that, you know, that's just horrible, you know. Yeah, he had just like been heading home from a detail. Hold on one second, guys. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta go run, grab my minion outside. As my phone replays it. Sorry. Be right back. Yeah, estimated 80 miles an hour. It's terrible. No, the guy died. The driver died too. Both people died, unfortunately. Oh my God. The worst thing about fucking being sick is hot and cold. hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Shit drives me weird. I can't. I don't like it. I don't like it. I know. That's terrible. They might have. I mean, it probably happened so fast, the poor fucking guy didn't have a chance to react, you know? It's terrible. Whole thing is just terrible, you know? Oh my God, you guys. This was a good one. Now, this person clearly is, you know, a cultist, but Danielle here said this person first, before the cultist, said his comment is reminiscent of Captain America and Tony Stark in the first Avengers when Captain asked Tony what he was without a suit. Because aren't you also a millionaire business owner and entrepreneur? Why do they attempt to insult you with, quote, male hairdresser, right? And Nick said, because they think it hurts my feelings, with a laughy face. And then this lady, imagine saying this with a straight face, goes, but you're not Karen's hairdresser, though. As a master colorist and hair designer myself, that's saying a lot. That tells me that you can't cut professional women's hair, can't color, foil, or design women's hair. And I know this because you told Jimmy you don't even do a perm. It's like, bro, I'm sorry, but I'm not leaving my hairdresser for anyone, even if my friend is a hairdresser. Like, my hairdresser left, she's no longer doing, like, hair anymore. But that's the only time that I'd be looking for a new hairdresser, is to find if mine, like, leaves the profession or moves away or something like that. Oh, Kowloon. Oh, God, I feel like there's been a lot of fucking accidents over there now, near Kowloon. Over there, and over near, like, the roast beef place on that side, you know? Yeah, I don't usually watch the news here either, because it is depressing. But, you know, I cover stories that people bring to my attention, and then I'll do the, you know, research on it. But a lot of the time, like, I don't have cable anyway, so I don't have, like, you know, if I want to watch the news, I have to stream, like, it afterwards or whatever, or see it, you know, pop up on the computer or on my phone, you know? The guy pulled over who just killed 2 people and had the gun on him, and they gave the bolo out after I asked for the plate to be run. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, that's no good. Definitely could have went sour real quick. Like, real quick. That could have went badly. I feel it in my throat. I'm definitely getting, like, bronchitis or something. And my sister just had it, so I wouldn't doubt it. It's the last thing I need when I'm already sick, is to get bronchitis on top of it, and I can feel it. It's affecting my being able to talk. That's my fucking luck, is I'll get bronchitis and not be able to speak. Fuck. I don't want to think about it, because it's going to make my head want to spin like Beetlejuice. Like fucking Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice. What are you guys doing for Mother's Day? I think we're going to have to think about, obviously I'm not going to have a show Sunday, so we're going to have to think about replacing that show with maybe a nighttime one this week, or a Saturday morning instead of a Sunday morning. Well, see, that's the thing, is you know better because you were a dispatcher, so that's why probably every little thing, like, you know, because you dispatched before you were a trooper, you know? You're too calm, you're supposed to be calm. What do they want you to do? Freak out? Like, I don't get it. Fuck you, Major. Right? You can't be screaming and yelling, like, but I'd love to hear what you guys are doing for Mother's Day. I guess what we're going to have to do is move our show from Sunday to maybe Saturday morning. Maybe we can do like an early Saturday morning show, like a 10 a.m. Because obviously I'm going to spend Sunday with my kids. It's not like I'm going anywhere. I'll be home, you know. But I'm still going to spend it with the kids. So I don't know. Maybe we can do Saturday morning, I'm thinking, maybe. Saturday morning sounds like a good idea. I feel like, what is this now? You're golfing? Hey, that sounds like fun though. Golfing sounds like fun. If I golfed, you know? Mm, yes, actually, this is a good idea. Hold on. Let me do something. This is what we're going to do. Hold on. I was trying to find it on Mass Live. I have it, so it's a surprise for you then, Rose. That'd be nice, though, a surprise. That'd be nice to get a surprise from the boys. I mean, I don't mind not going out. Like I said, if I was going to go out, I'd probably want to go to like an arcade or something with the kids. That would be my thing that I would want to do. But usually we just stay home and do like breakfast here at home. Like he'll make breakfast and like maybe like I get obviously usually get to decide what the activity here at home is with the kids, but usually I pick something fun like movie night or picnic or something fun like that. Ooh, I know, right? To be fair, I feel like she would win that tournament and then he'd be so mad. Imagine. I'm doing yard work. Thankfully, my landlord did my yard yesterday, so there's no yard work here to be done. Thank Christ. To be fair, even if there was, my husband would do it. So, some people like doing it though. They like doing the gardening and the stuff like that. I bet Leah would win that golf tournament, and then he would be so angry. He would be so fucking angry. I'm gonna have a guest hop up and talk to us about that. We're gonna play it again so she can hear it. That would be the greatest day, right? You totally would. I feel like you would win that. Just saying. I'm going to have a guest pop up real quick and talk about this audio that we just heard from dispatcher and play it again so she hasn't heard it. I'm trying to find it on Mass Live. Leah sent me the link, but it's popping up on my phone, I think, in a different place than it is on the thing here. But while we're waiting for her and while I'm getting that real quick, make sure you hit the like button. I would appreciate that. You can hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. We would love to have you as part of the community. If you could support the channel, there's a bunch of different ways of doing so. Basically, what you'd be supporting is my soup for the night, probably the kids' dinner, so I don't have to stand in front of a fucking stove and I can actually go back to resting. Possibly, maybe. We'll see. Let's see. Get this. What's on Facebook on Mass Live? That's fine. All right, let me see if I can pull it this way so that we can play it. You did a tournament last week? Puppy did a tournament last week for softball. They came in second. He's no more running. Yeah, you know what award he won? Biggest piece of shit on planet Earth. We're giving him that award. That's the award. Farmers market. It was just a thought, maybe Saturday afternoon. Deirdre! My friends. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let me see. I'll get it pulled up over here. Oh, this is my Facebook isn't signed in on this because they didn't ever do an update. Can you hear me, Dee?
Yeah, I can now. Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to pull it up on Facebook here because that's where it is instead of playing it on my phone, but I'm not signed into Facebook on my computer.
So what's the gist of this? What are they, what's the...
So this is the trooper that got hit early this morning. The person was driving Route 1 going the wrong way on Route 1. And the trooper was just coming off of a shift actually and had been cleared to go home, and that was happening near him. And so he went out to try to like make contact with the car. It was driving the opposite direction, and it was a head-on collision, and he died. And so this is the dispatch from then.
What is the criticism of dispatch on this, though?
Well, Leah was saying that they might have made a mistake because she did dispatching before she was a trooper. She said she's surprised that they didn't put it out that he was coming up on it. Let's see. Mass Live. I think I found that.
Oh, they didn't warn him as he tried to intercept that he was close?
Yeah, I think I found it. All right, let's be able to pull it up on this. Yeah, I don't think they like warned him that like, hey, there it is, or hey, it's right there, like, you know what I mean, like before, and then, collision. And they couldn't get him out of the cruiser either, so that probably didn't help. All right, let's see. All right, here's the clip.
Do you know if state police was following him in the wrong direction as well?
I think, she said, nope, not the dispatch. It's actually the trooper. Oh, all right. Well, there was another trooper, I believe, that was dispatched out to go. I don't know if they were going opposite or if they were going the same. She said, I think he had a detail in H troop and didn't change his radio to A troop. Oh, he never acknowledged he saw the vehicle. Yeah, that's the other thing. He never said he saw it. So it must have, she said she's getting more information now. So she's the one who told me about this morning. This is before mainstream media had, had even picked up on this. So this is the dispatch. It's about 4 minutes. We'll listen to it here. It says it shows the frantic response to a wrong way crash early Wednesday morning on Route 1 in Linfield that killed both the wrong way driver and the state police people. It was a code 22, 911 calls coming in for south in the north. Interesting.
What my question is if, because I know details are sketchy, they're still investigating, and I recognize all that, but my question is if he was being tailed by a trooper who was calling out the locations and dispatch was parroting the locations, if that had already been established, or if this was so brand new to the information coming in on a wrong way driver that locations were sketchy, and that's how.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they know that he like whereabouts the wrong way driver was, but I don't think they knew. I think it was a call that came in, so it wasn't like someone following him, I don't think, to know exactly like where he was.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because it must have, like Leah said, he never dispatched back that he had eyes on the car, so it must have happened pretty quick,
I gotcha. Okay.
He was only 30 years old, and like Leah said, he was a part of the A Troop community action team. So like you have to get picked for that, you have to apply for that, you have to earn that,
Yeah.
Yeah, Leah said he just cleared his detail 4 minutes prior to that. She said negative dispatch just put out and the crash occurred almost simultaneously.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's fucking awful.
Unfortunate.
So he must have been already going in that direction, and they had just put out that there was a wrong way driver, and boom. That's horrible. That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right, here's the clip. Go.
631 to A6 stationary. I have a wrong way, traveling south in the north, Route 1 by the Linfield Tunnel, heading towards August. 22 to 33 is northbound at Kowloon. 631 6 received. Just got a call from state 911 about that. Yeah. It's going southbound on the northbound.
Ma'am, Ocean Ave.
1961's on 16, or right by Washington Ave, Chelsea.
Right now, south on the North Route 1. Past the Linfield Tunnel.
Was that the dispatcher?
Station A, I'm logging in on Route 1 in a second.
Couldn't hear her.
She needs to wake
Code 16,
up.
code 16.
Right.
Head on. It's going to be Route 1 northbound, just prior to the tunnel. 2233 is coming up from Walnut Street. 2396 Road from Walnut. We get on from Route 16. MS, 2 toes. It's going to be 1958. 431 has it as well. 1958 is unconscious. It was the wrong way.
What was the cruiser number that was struck?
1958, 1958.
Wow.
So he didn't change his radio, so he didn't know.
1513's en route from Acton. 41186, you can show me en route.
Limited traffic on 841.
Station 8, you can tell EMS to step it up and send fire. The door is jammed, we can't get the trooper out of the cruiser.
Station is a dispatch.
Trainer! 2300's on the floor.
That's them calling.
408 to H4 on a 4 by Zion. Other operator is also unconscious. Please, A6, tell EMS, step it up.
They've been advised over vapor.
Okay, we're gonna have to get that idea. Yeah, Cruz is coming in. Let's start tapering the traffic on this crest here to avoid any additional 16s.
That's his cruiser number. That's his cruiser number.
1376, take the left lane.
Lieutenant Kerry, you on the air? Affirmative, en route, sir.
EMS on scene yet?
Ma'am, I can hear them on the scanner. They're trying to reroute them, see if they can just come south. Yeah, affirmative. We gotta get him in quick. Car's smoking. Alright, I'm gonna shut traffic down here. I'm coming up north. That way they can come down the wrong way.
They've been advised. We've told them twice.
631. 4-star en route. 1961 to 86. I'll be on a 4. 86 cruises on Route 1 North. 1961. We gotta keep one lane open here for any fire trucks or anything. I'm gonna back up.
Yeah, one of the officers
I'll be on the 711 there.
said they might need a med flight, but I didn't hear anything else about it.
31 to A6 Station A. I have a wrong way. Traveling south in the north. Route 1 by the Linfield Tunnel.
Let it keep playing, please. I want to hear something.
22 to
What part?
This part.
That was the whole thing. This is the
I
beginning.
want to hear the beginning again because I'm trying to understand voices and I think I've got it down now. What I want to hear, what I'm checking for is if that dispatcher was parroting the locations. I'm not sure that she was, which may be an issue. Piecing this together, so he was on the wrong frequency, but he could hear dispatch because dispatch goes out over all the frequencies, but he can't hear. Is he not hearing what the officers are saying unless dispatch?
So he, well, I think was what Leah was saying was he was on the cusp of Troop H. And so he would have had to switch his radio to Troop A. And so he obviously didn't even get a chance, is what I'm saying. Or what she's saying is like he probably didn't ever get a chance to even switch it to A, because by the time that happened, he was already hit head on.
So how did he know of the wrong-way driver? If he was
I don't think he did. I think at this point we're finding out that he didn't.
Oh, he didn't know anything.
No, looks like he didn't even know. I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah, Leah said she got a 911 code, a code 22 call, and advised. No, there's different. Yeah, so that, I know how it works here is like you can't just hear all of dispatch. Like, that's why there's different frequencies for different troops. So if he never switched, he wouldn't know.
Okay. I wasn't
so
sure
that's the shitty part.
I wasn't sure how the mix-up happened.
Yeah, so I guess he just was like getting off of work and heading home basically from that detail 4 minutes before that. Yeah, he didn't know. She said he was driving home to Salem post detail. Yeah, he had a detail and he was done and he was cleared to go home like 4 minutes prior to that.
Oh, wow.
And
so
then
at that point, he was just like any other person on the road.
Any other person. Yeah, any other person on the road just driving home, and then, the wrong way driver got him. I do question, I did hear one of the officers at least say, we might need a med flight, but then I never heard another single thing about a med flight. So why didn't they call in a med flight when you're screaming? So that was him screaming his name. His last name was Trainer. So you hear one of the officers screaming the cop's name. Can't get him out of the vehicle. He's stuck in the vehicle. They can't get the door open to get him out. She said nowadays, now, sometimes in a pursuit, we can patch them together during a code 30 clear radio for emergency only, but obviously not in that scenario, not the scenario that this guy was in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But this is just devastating. Like the guy was 30 years old, he leaves behind siblings, a fiance, a life, a family, all from going home from work,
If that request for med flight was made, that should have been acknowledged.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. I heard the cops say we might need a med flight and then nothing after that. But I also wasn't a fan of that other dispatcher's tone. They were telling her we've now closed down. Well, I'm coming north and I'm closing down the opposite side. So the EMS can come southbound or northbound via southbound, go the opposite way they're not supposed to go, because I'm closing down the traffic for them to get in here quickly this way. And, that other dispatcher, you can barely hear what she's saying anyway. She's kind of sounds like she's half asleep, but she's they've been advised. Well, they weren't advised that northbound was closed down for them to come southbound, obviously, if they're just telling you now. So, yes, they've been advised to hurry up, but you know what I mean? I didn't really appreciate her fucking tood, to be honest.
That's why I said at one point, I think you heard me, was that the dispatcher?
Yeah. Sounded like she was sleeping.
She was asleep.
Yeah. Yeah. She was just mumbling. I didn't quite hear the first thing that she said because she was I'm like, what the fuck did she say? If you're dispatching, you might want to be clear and loud enough people can hear you,
And if you're shutting down traffic, if a unit advises you that they're shutting down traffic, then you put out a caution, attention all units, traffic northbound from blah, 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 blah to blah, blah, blah will be shut down.
Right. And all she had to do was tell EMS. That's what he was asking her to do, is tell the ambulance that we have shut it down for them to come the opposite direction.
Well, yeah. So you won't hear that go out over there. You'll hear that over fire, but he should be repeating what he says for two reasons: to caution everybody else what's going on and to let the person who requested that or announced that
know that you heard them.
You've got it. You've got it right.
Yeah, her tood was not, I didn't appreciate that. I'll tell you that much.
Wake the fuck up. Jeez.
Yeah, dude, you sound like you're fucking sleeping, bro. Taking a fucking nippy nap. What are you doing, dude? I could barely hear what the fuck she was saying, dude. Yeah. And I mean, I understand Leah's sentiment here where people are like, oh, he deserved to die. MSP is, even if you think that there's some problems within the Massachusetts State Police, which I believe there's some issues, right? But you can't say that one guy deserved to die in a head-on collision, because you think there's some that's saying one kid in the class sucks, so all the kids in the class suck. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense, and it's shitty. It's shitty. It's like saying your boss is corrupt, therefore all of the employees are corrupt, and you all deserve to go to jail with your boss.
Well, by their way of thinking, I hope that all their family members are kosher, because if they're not, then they're just as guilty.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That thinking just doesn't jive with me. You know, it just doesn't.
It's very
doesn't
sad.
make any sense.
I saw the announcement or whatever on X this morning when I got up, and then saw later on that they had identified who he was and that he was only 30 years old, and that's just horrible.
So sad, dude. It's just sad. The whole thing is freaking sad. Like, I don't wish that on anyone, right? Like, I don't wish that shit on anyone. It's horrible. It's awful. No one deserves to die in that way. No one deserves to die, period. But like, that's to just, I mean, you have to be pretty mean-spirited, you know, to say something like that. It's like, you know, I can imagine this is why the Canton police felt like attacked every officer. Oh, they're all sucked because blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you're mixing everyone into one. We are individual human beings. We each have our own flaws and our own strengths, right?
Yeah.
Some people will be followers and some people will be leaders. Like, that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
But to put everybody in one, you know, category together, you can't put everybody in one box. It's just not the way it works, dude. And that poor guy did not deserve to die in a head-on crash because you don't like the state police. Like, listen, I agree. I don't like a lot of the stuff the state police does or doesn't do, for that matter. And I agree that a lot of the time they're just trying to cover their own asses instead of doing what's right. But this is a different scenario. This guy didn't deserve this. He was going home from work. Like, just a hard day at work, trying to go home to his family, doing a detail, probably extra time doing a detail to make extra money. You know what I mean? Like, just like anyone else would do, working overtime or something. Like, didn't deserve to die.
Do we know if he has a family, kids, or wife, or anything?
He didn't have kids. They mentioned a fiance and I think 3 or 4 siblings, I believe, and his mom.
It's very sad.
They don't say that he had any kids, but still sad. He was only 30, you know, just 30 years old. That's young. You know, my dad died in his early 40s. That's so young. So fucking young. So much life to live.
These people that are so critical of the MSP, what are they doing in their personal lives
to change it? Yeah.
To affect change. Yeah. Have you come up with a plan? You know, like I've been saying since I started.
Shitting on people like me that are actually doing things like that, talking to my lawmakers and trying to get somebody to help me write a bill. Like, you know, shitting on people like me who actually try to make that change happen.
How often have you heard me say, get MSP out of the Commonwealth Attorney's offices?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they're not going to do that because that's the way it works here in Massachusetts. But this is also why I believe that judges need to be voted in. And you know what I mean? Like, there's changes that need to happen for a reason, and it all has to happen for it all to work. And it's not going to happen all at once, you know, one piece at a time, little by little. And that takes effort from people. You know, you do nothing and bitch about it, nothing changes.
Right. Yeah.
They want to bitch about it, but they don't want to do anything about it to change it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem.
I would say, just from, you know, having been a dispatcher and a trainer, that I'd have a lot to say about that dispatcher and how she handled things. You need to sound like you're in charge, sound like you're involved,
well, that other lady did. The other lady did. I could hear the other lady perfectly fine, and she was calling out, you know, everything that was going on correctly, and like, she was not too loud, but she was loud enough you could understand every word she was saying. And then you got that other lady in there that's just kind of like, meh, meh.
Yeah, that would not fly. But it's sad. It's sad. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong in the sense that what they did or didn't do led to his death. At least like that's been ruled out. However, she's got issues.
Yeah, I mean, dude, she's probably sleeping. Leah says they do sleep. They sleep. I'm sure they do in the overnight, because this was the overnight, right? This is overnight shift into the morning.
I only worked nights, and I didn't sleep on duty ever.
I worked nights as well in the prison, but I also couldn't. You can't. I have checks every 15 minutes. You can't sleep. That's not a thing. Like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. We had, because the prison I worked in was for mental health, it's not like normal count where you do your count every, like, you know, 5 hours or 6 hours. Like, it's on my unit, the one that I ran, it's every 15 minutes, every single cell. every single cell every 15 minutes. And to boot, we had cameras in every cell. So you had this big computer screen, and then you had, I think it was 15 smaller TV screens with a camera in every cell. And the problem with that, though, at night is you still can't, if they have their head under the blanket, you can't see anything. So you got to like shine a light in there and make sure they're fucking breathing, and, you know, every 15 minutes, because they're in intake. That means they're coming in from places like Pembroke Hospital where they've been medicated for like 60 days. They're acting a fool. They're doing crazy shit. They're trying to harm themselves. Like, so it's important that you cannot miss those checks. They have to be done every 15 minutes on every cell, on every person. You have to have eyes on that person breathing, period.
Maybe Leah was saying they sleep on their breaks or something. Maybe.
I don't know, they probably sleep in between calls, because, you know,
that shouldn't be allowed. That's happening.
I mean, it probably isn't allowed. They probably just do it. You know what I mean? Like, there were people who I worked with at the prison that would go into like the office and like fucking take a 15-minute nap. I'm like, I can't take a 15-minute nap. Like, that's not happening. Like, I'll take a hour nap if you give me an hour break. I'll take my break and take a nap. Never did it, but like I could probably do it that way. But I could never go in and take a 15-minute break and take a 15-minute nap. No fuck, I would never get back up. No fucking way. No chance. No freaking chance in hell.
The stop and start from sleep to awake is not quick enough for dispatchers to be allowed to sleep while they're sitting at their stations. That just should not happen, in my opinion.
She said no, they definitely sleep. It's not allowed, but they do it. Like, I mean, I saw that in the prison too. They're not allowed to do it there. I've seen it there too. You know? Yeah, that's the other problem, is most of us, at least at the prison, where we were forced into the mandatory overtime. So like, you're there fucking 16 hours, you're like trying not to fall asleep, because by the time you're relieved, right, you still have to give the next shift a overview of everything that happened during your shift, and have like a little meeting between shifts. So by the time you end up leaving the fucking building, you've been there 18 hours, right? You're exhausted.
Wow.
Exhausted. I remember some people being like, they had to pull over like on the highway or at a rest stop, they were falling asleep driving home because they had been there for fucking 18 hours on eyeball for 4 hours. Like, and that's the other thing. They had to start switching out eyeball every 2 hours, switching people, because what they were doing originally is one person would be on eyeball for 4 to 6 hours. That is too long to have one person staring at another human being, right? That's for people who are like threatening suicide or whatever, and the doctor has them on eyeball, which means we have to sit there and stare at them. Like you're sitting outside the cell or standing outside that cell, staring through the window at them, watching their every move, not allowed to look away. So at that point, people were starting to like get tunnel vision and fall asleep, and like they couldn't keep eyes on them, right? And so they finally had to like switch out people every 2 hours. Otherwise, you're straining someone for sitting there for 4 or 6 hours just staring at one thing, you know? They realized fairly quickly that that wasn't going to work, but you would have someone at that point, back when we first took over the prison, on eyeball for like 4 or 6 hours, and then working another 12 hours. Exhausted by the time you leave, exhausted. And then when we first got the prison, when we first took over from the COs that the governor forced out, and the private company I worked for took over, when we first got it, they were forcing us into mandatory overtime 3 to 5 times a week, until the point where they were saying like, well, you can't say no or you could be fired. And we were like, we never signed any contract that said that you could, and we didn't have a union yet. We had union talks, but we didn't have a union yet. Wasn't voted in yet. So they were like threatening to fire people. And unfortunately for them, they had someone like me working there. And I was like, they can't fire you for you saying no to mandatory overtime after the 3rd time in that week. Like, they were saying basically we can only say no twice a year. And I was like, yeah, that's not a thing when you're forcing mandatory overtime up to 5 times a week. Nowhere in my employment contract does it say that I'm going to be forced 5 times a week. As a matter of fact, we asked this in training, and you said there was not going to be any mandatory overtime. And then, of course, as soon as we get in there, they're forcing people, right at the end of your shift too. You don't know until it's the end of your shift. And you're like, okay, you're staying, and you're staying. Like, what? Oh, it was awful. You could get burnout so quickly, so fucking quickly. Yeah, this is also big town dispatch. We're dealing with cities and MSP probably has one of the biggest, I would guess. They have to have many dispatchers for all the troops because, you know, you're doing A through, oh God, I forget what the last letter is, but like there is so fucking many of them. And it's weird here in Massachusetts. Any unattended death goes to them. You know, like they get all like things that like normal police stations would deal with in their own jurisdictions in other states. The state police here deal with. It's just all fucked up and weird the way they do it here. It's just weird. I feel like they give them too much, you know, almost like it's too much to deal with, you know? And just let the like local PD handle some of the stuff, you know, let them train in some of this shit so that MSP isn't dealing with so much, you know?
Is there something being said about me being a dispatcher in some way, shape, or form that is lesser than other agencies?
No, why? No, why? Where do you see that?
I'm being told that there's comments being made by somebody out there about me, and if it's
Where?
In your chat.
No, there's nothing about you. No, I don't see anything about you.
Let it be known, I worked for 2 major civilian agencies. This was not my military police experience I'm talking about. These were 2 civilian agencies, one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast.
Yeah, I wonder how different the West Coast is from the East Coast. You worked in both, right? So what do you think? Like, what's the big differences between like West Coast and East Coast?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't really been to the other coast. You know what I mean? I really have never ventured outside of like I've done the whole East Coast, like the whole East Coast, and Texas. That's it. I have never ventured all the way over to like I have a cousin that lives in California, but I know that my cousin and my husband's aunt lives in California, and they both say like it's a whole different world there than it is here. Like it's like living in 2 different planets. You know what I mean? And I know that at least by going down to like Florida, that's like a whole other planet to fucking here. You know what I mean? Like, so I wonder like, well, I know they have a lot of fires too, right? Out there, like in California and stuff, they have a lot of like wildfires. And yeah, my husband's aunt's husband is a hotshot firefighter. So he's one of the guys that like parachute into those fires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the difference, so I dispatched police, fire, and ambulance. I did non-emergency 911. I was also a master emergency communications technician. So I was a trainer for new hires, for ongoing education for established dispatchers, and I was a alternate supervisor. So in fire, there was a big difference between East and West Coast because of the difference in fire codes and the difference in how old buildings are compared to the, so we had a lot more fire fatalities for Arlington than for.
I know that like, so for instance, I lived in Whitman, like way back in the day, and that's like a really tiny town. Like it's a small, like, I think it's like 1 square mile. I forget. It's like tiny. It's tiny. Right. And my husband's mother's boyfriend, his daughter works for that like fire station and EMS. And she does not just Whitman, but Whitman and Hanson. And that's also what Whitman and Hanson have, like Whitman and Hanson High School. Technically, it's Whitman Hanson. It's both towns, which is weird, but because they're such little, you know, small places, like they kind of like combined them. And the EMS there, the EMS, fire, and police are all one dispatch there, which isn't normal for cities and towns. Like that's like normally it's 1 for fire, right, and EMS, and 1 for like 9 like cops. Like that's we had 2 in Quincy. We had 1 for the EMS. Well, Quincy's a huge city, but 1 for EMS and fire, and 1 for, you know, police. But they do it all 3 get done in one spot for Whitman and Hanson, which is so strange to me that they do all 3. Like you have 1 person handling, but then again, I think about it and I'm like, okay, maybe they have 1 person handling it all because it's such a small town. You know what I mean? Like, or 2 small towns, because technically it's 2 small towns, Whitman and Hanson, right? 2 small towns put together. But I'm like, that would be a lot to fucking do. Like, I feel like that would be a lot on 1 person. And I know that she told us, I think the last time I saw her was like I wouldn't say it was like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but I remember her saying like she had just worked like 2 12-hour shifts or something. So I believe they work like 12 hours on, 12 hours off, I believe. And I know that she stays in the fire station. So like, just like a firefighter, they have like beds, right? So if you have like a 24-hour quote shift, she would sleep like, 12 hours there and then do a 12-hour shift. If that makes sense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like, that is something I never knew existed in Massachusetts because that's not normally how it's done, but it was fun to learn like her telling us like how they do stuff there because it's so different. I mean, you wouldn't assume it would be so different in the same damn state. Yes, like Taunton and Raynham. Taunton and Raynham have like, or Raynham, Bridgewater. Bridgewater, Raynham has their own like high school and it's Bridgewater, Raynham. But that's weird too because Bridgewater and Raynham are 2 bigger places. So I don't know why they ever mushed up together, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it depends on the size of the agency. It can vary greatly. That I work for in California, we went down to 2 dispatchers for a few hours overnight. And yeah, so we were doing police and fire, 911 and non-emergency, all just between 2 dispatchers. And
so I wonder, they have like, I don't even know if they have that here though, but do they have like 911 like centers where it's just like a bunch of dispatchers and then they all handle 911?
They do have regional dispatch in some areas. I know my sister works for one in California, but they only handle fire and ambulance calls, but it's a regional thing. And it's for areas where especially in rural areas where there isn't a lot of population.
Where there's like volunteer firefighters instead. Yeah. There's a lot of places like that where they don't have like a big fire station like we would have in a bigger city. They have like what they call volunteer firefighters. Everyone's a volunteer.
Yeah. My agency in California was really weird because we had, our regular fire stations sprinkled throughout the city, but our police officers, it was public safety. So our police officers were also firefighters. So we had people in the stations and then on calls to supplement the calls, the officers would respond and they had their turnout gear in their trunk and they would, in their police uniform, get into their
firefighter uniform. Yep.
And start fighting a fire.
I've heard of that too. And I'm like, Jesus, they better get paid double, although they don't, right? Like they don't,
No.
But like, you would think like you train them for fire and police. Like that's a big fucking job to take on, doing both of those things, Here, it's a nightmare to try to get on a fire station or a police station. It's really about who you know. If you happen to know a family member or someone, you can get right in, right? And otherwise, like you have to take the civil service exam and then hope and pray that they pick you and that no one knows someone is going to get bumped ahead of you, which happens all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
my aunt took it back in the day, and she got offered somewhere way out in Western Mass at first. And she never ended up taking it, and I think she regrets it now. But she wanted to be a police officer, and she took the civil service exam, and they ended up offering her a job after like 2 years of taking the civil service. But she turned it down because it was way out in Western Mass.
Yeah, when I tested for North Las Vegas police for a dispatcher, I was number 1 on the list, but the hiring priority was that union got hiring. So the day that I took my test, there was a whole bunch of people there, and everyone knew each other. Like they all worked together in different, like roads department or whatever for Las Vegas. So they have no dispatch experience whatsoever.
That's annoying.
They got hiring preferences. So 18 months later, I got a call that finally my number was up on the list because everyone went
bullshit.
on the list. How much time and money is wasted trying
on that, right?
By then I had 10 years experience.
Right. So, and that's my opinion, is experience should come first, right? Experience should always be first. You need somebody experienced to know what the fuck they're doing. If you're wasting 6 months with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, fucks up several calls, which could put someone's life at risk, you fire them, you go through that scenario how many times before you get to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And by
how much money was wasted and time.
Yeah. And I had moved, so.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. So by then you can't even take the job because you're not even there anymore.
Yeah.
which is bullshit. It's like, I feel like they should be able to do, 911 at least, dispatching from anywhere at this point, You can do towing dispatching from pretty much anywhere with the same kinds of radios. Like, why not move your dispatching out to anybody who wants it if you know what I mean?
Like from home?
From anywhere, from another state, from another county, from anywhere.
You mean like someone in California dispatching for Boston?
Hey, why not? I can hear dispatch from all over the country right now in one app.
You have to be able to hear what's going on around you. Calls that other people are taking, radio traffic that's happening around you. I can't fathom that.
Yeah.
Maybe
I guess
background, but I can't fathom it.
I mean, everywhere is different too, though. You got to think about rural places probably don't need as much help. They probably have one dispatcher that's been there for fucking 20 years. You know what I mean? The same people who know everyone in the town, everyone's name, everyone's address, which is probably really fucking helpful, to the people on the ground that you're calling it out to. And you're like, oh, this is Mrs. Smith's house, and she's, 3 houses past the yellow one with a broken window. You know what I mean? Like, they just know everyone and everything, which is probably a fucking big benefit, to getting some of the newer officers or people who don't know what the fuck they're doing, out to where they're supposed to be.
Well, yeah, landmarks mean something because, you'll get callers that don't know where they are or whatever. So I guess nowadays you get the longitude and latitude when they call 911 or whatever. But
oh, you do? Back in the day, I didn't get that.
Technology has changed so much since I left dispatch. I don't know more, but landmarks mean a lot. And familiarity with your population too, because we had one lady that would call on night shift, Mrs. Christ. She's got to be dead by now, so I can talk about her. She was a sweet lady, but she was crazy. And she would call and she would say her very certain things. And then one night she said something that was outside of that. And it turned out that what she was reporting was ended up being a burglary of a home nearby. And she saw someone going over her fence through her backyard and over the next fence.
Oh, shit.
It had snowed, so they were able to follow the trail of
the tracks.
But for the fact that, you're dispatching in your town and your frequent flyers, we wouldn't have picked up somebody from another state if they're not, if they're dispatching from another state, they may not understand things like that.
Right. I don't know how often you have to take the civil service exam. This was back in the early 90s when my aunt did it, so I have no fucking idea. I just remember taking it, passing it, and then them calling close to almost 2 years later with a spot way out in Western Mass and her turning it down. But I don't know how often it is that you have to take that. That's probably a question for Leah or Deidre on how often that has to be taken. And maybe it's different by place. I'm not really sure.
Well, I took this quote unquote civil service exam for a job out of the military that had nothing to do with dispatching or whatever. And I was like a GS4, which is like your entry level. If you're talking about that, that's different than when you apply to police agencies.
I think it's the one I think they mean is the civil service exam for like cops, firefighters. But again, that could be different state by state, because here it's the civil service exam is for cops and firefighters, and could be other things too. But I know it's cops and firefighters at the very least. But I don't know how often they have to take it or retake it. I guess you can retake it. I know if you don't pass, but
they didn't have post when I dispatched, not for where I dispatched. We had our own police academies, our own dispatch academies and stuff. So it was
post didn't exist back when my aunt took the test. There was no way to tell what office. So if you were a shitty officer and you got fired, you could just move to the next city over or town over or state over, and no one would know that you got fired for, excessive force. You know what I mean? You could just move state to state, city to city, which is what a lot of the shitty officers did and got away with it until something horrible happened. And then that is when people would find out that they, move state to state or city to city. But back then there was no way to track, that.
Mm-hmm. I do think that there's a recertification with post, but I don't know how often it is. That may change from state to state. I know we looked into this on a case in Florida to see how often they have to retrain for CPR, and they don't at all.
Really? Because for me, at least for the prison, your CPR certification is good for 2 years. And then every 2 years, you have to retake the CPR class and recertify every 2 years. And that could have changed even to be 1 year now. But back when I was working at the prison, I had to recertify my CPR certification every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have like a little CPR card that will say you're certified on it that they sign and send to you.
You would think, but not in Volusia County. I can tell you.
Really? Yeah, we had to have a little card you have to keep in your wallet that you're certified, and then your job gets the paperwork saying you've taken the class, you're certified, all that.
And changing agencies and stuff, that from the military to Arlington to California, the 10 codes were different. The phonetic alphabets were different.
Yeah.
California had 9 and 11 codes in addition to 10 codes.
Wow.
And then, of course, you have to know the laws too. So
yep.
All those are, of course, different. So
I hated, we had, 10 codes for the prison. And when I worked in healthcare, I believe it was 5. Code red, always a fire code red. That was for the prison and the hospital. Code black, which was a staff assault in the prison. Code blue, which is someone in the hospital who needs CPR. Basically, they've lost, they're having cardiac arrest and they need CPR. So I can't even believe I even remember any of these right now, to be honest, because I haven't worked in those fields in so long. But it's funny how even in a different field, they use sort of the same kinds of things. Like in a hospital, they have to have certain codes for certain reasons. And when you're working for a corrections or a police, or a firefighter, they have codes for a certain reason as well. Mm-hmm. So it's funny how they use that across different, different careers and stuff. Because the prison, we had on the back of our IDs, our ID cards, all the codes are written on the back of your ID and they're color coded. So it'll say red in red and tell you that means there's a fire in the building somewhere, right? Yeah. Code black, staff assault. So you could never forget them because every time you picked up your fucking ID, they're written on the back, Yeah.
Yeah.
But working at that prison was, eye-opening because when you're dealing with regular prisoners, it's already not for the faint of heart. But when you're dealing with prisoners that have serious mental health issues, they're talking to themselves, they believe that you are a devil who was sent here to kill you. You're dealing with schizophrenics, sociopaths, the list goes on and on and on. And you're not just dealing with just mental health. You're dealing with mental health of people who have committed a crime. That's why they're there, or are accused of committing a crime. So anything from murdering their entire families, burning down houses with your family inside, stabbing them, to just simple assault at a mental health facility that you assaulted a staff member. The spectrum is fucking 0 to 100.
Yeah.
The turnover rate there was absurd. People would get into the job and then realize it's a lot more than they thought it would be, and out the door they went. I couldn't even tell you how many people I worked with because people left so often. And for me, I don't know, I thrive in an environment like that. And I enjoyed being able to help these people, go from not very well to well, you know what I mean? And having a normal conversation. Because when some of these people first come in, there's no having a normal conversation. No one's home. They're completely gone.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to see sort of the transition, of people. And not every person there is meant to be there, right? You might have assaulted someone at a mental health facility and refused to take your meds because you thought that they were a secret agent that was going to kill you because you have schizophrenia. You know what I mean? Not everybody's meant to be there. They can't help it. But then you have people who are what we call malingering, which is they get sent from other jails to our jail because they're pretending to have a mental health condition. And then we have to, check. And a lot of the times they'll just be malingering because they get better benefits of being in the jail I worked at than a standard jail in the state.
Right.
being out of the cell longer, better food, better, just better shit that they're allowed to have or not allowed to have that they wouldn't be allowed to have at a regular prison. So a lot of the times the malingerers will spend a short period of time there. We realize, that's what's happening, and they get sent back to a regular.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump back off and get back to my family. I'm going back home tomorrow, so I'm still at my sister's.
Enjoy yourself, darling. I'm going to wrap this up in a second anyway because my head is banging. My temperature still is 102, and I need to eat something like super.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's all I've been eating for 2 days, and I still have to figure out I'm making these fucking kids for dinner, dude. Like, shit in this house, and I'm like, I cannot stand in front of a hot stove right now. I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, I'm tired.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry.
I've been sick for 2 days, dude. I took 2 days off, and I was like, guess I'm going to have to push through it today because unfortunately, unlike everyone else on planet Earth, I don't have sick time or sick days that will pay me out when I'm not here. So the last 2 days, I could barely even get out of bed. So when I could get out of bed this morning, I was like, I guess I'm going to have to suck it up today, Elise.
I'll send you a list.
So here I am. Appreciate. Oh, Rose says thank you for your knowledge, Deidre. Rose said.
Welcome. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Deidre. Always love having you on. I miss you, and have so much fun with your sister.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Thank you, Deidre. We appreciate you. Yeah, it's going to have to be soup with toast, I feel like. Either that or egg on toast. I do like my egg on toast. You want to know why? My Nana, when I was a kid growing up, my Nana always made me egg on toast when I was sick with ginger ale. I have to DoorDash ginger ale. I have no ginger ale in this house, and I've needed it for 2 days now. Need some ginger ale. That's a definite. But my grandmother, when I was a kid, would give me my little cup of ginger ale, and she would put you ever remember those fold-out tables? I'm sure everybody's grandparents had them. We had this like one big, it wasn't a recliner, but it was a big chair. And so there's the fold-out table my Nana would put next to the chair, and she would put my little cup with ginger ale on it, and then she would make me egg on toast. So it would be toast and then egg that was like runny in the middle on purpose, right? And I'd eat that because it would be like the only thing I could hold down. My husband makes me egg on English muffin, but I like egg whites now. As a kid, I didn't really care what kind of egg it was, but as an adult, I only usually eat egg whites, and so I have a thing of egg whites, and so he'll make me egg whites just with a little pepper, just on an English muffin, and I'm good to go. And that's all I've really been able to hold down for the past couple of days. A little bit of Sprite I had yesterday, mostly just water. I don't have Gatorade, but I do have Propel, which has electrolytes in it, so a couple sips of that here and there, but I have not tried to overdo it yet because the second that I try to eat something else, I can feel it and I can feel my throat. And I'm like, my sister just had bronchitis and couldn't speak for 2 days, and I'm with her usually every morning. She drives my little to school and drops her back off because my nephew goes to the same school. And because I moved into a different district technically, even though I'm closer to my sister, which is weird, but I'm in a different school district because we have like 4 or 5 elementary schools, I think. And so my sister picks her up and drops her off. I see my sister every morning, and I usually get in the car with her and go drop my kiddo off at school with her. And then I come and she drops me back off here. But, I was with her and the kids, and all the kids are sick. She's sick, her fiance's sick, and she couldn't talk for 2 days. And now I'm feeling it in my throat right here, and I'm feeling that I'm like straining to talk. And I'm like, no, I can't. I'm going to have to do honey tonight. I got to put some honey and some tea and just coat my throat with it. That's what my grandmother used to do if you had like a sore throat, honey and just regular tea, so that you could coat your throat and it wouldn't be so dry. I feel like that's what I'm gonna have to do. Love Deirdre. Gotta love Deirdre. You have to say it right. It's Deirdre. Because I did know a woman named Deidre, but it's Deirdre. I was pronouncing it wrong for a long time too. So peanut butter and jelly. My little likes peanut butter and jelly, but my other two are very picky when it comes to peanut butter and jelly. And I don't have any fluff left. They ate all the damn fluff. Fluff was a staple in my household when I was a kid. My grandparents, and also I like the chunky peanut butter, and that's because my grandfather. I grew up with my grandfather. He only bought chunky peanut butter, and so it's the peanut butter with the peanuts in it. And so I'm also the only one in the house that eats chunky peanut butter. Everybody else likes creamy peanut butter. I'm like, it's got to be chunky peanut butter, if it's not right. It's not right if it's not chunky peanut butter. I love chunky peanut butter. My grandfather used to make me that with English muffins back when I was a kid. And you used to be able to get that at Dunkin' Donuts when you were a kid. They would put it on there for you. They would put the peanut butter on the English muffin for you, and it would come hot. Oh, my grandfather and me would go, and he would get me little chocolate munchkins and a thing of peanut butter. Gotta love those days, thinking about that as a kid. Like, I try to give those sort of experiences when I can to my kids, because I hope that they pass it along to their kids, you know, just the simple things like that you just remember. I remember my grandmother used to sing to us to get us to do things. Used to get us to buckle up in the car. She would sing and she'd go, buckle up for safety, buckle up. I'd sing that to my kids. All three of them got that song to buckle up. And then when we were really little and she was trying to get us to eat our Cheerios, and my sisters, I remember specifically because I was older, I'm older than my sisters, she would take the Cheerios and put them on the high chair and go, Cheerio, Cheerio. My poor husband's heard every one of these stories from me and my sister. And so when we buy Cheerios, he starts singing the Cheerio song now, the one that my grandmother used to sing. So when my grandmother would get like uppity and she would like say something that my grandfather didn't like, my grandfather would say her name was Mary Lou, and he would go, bullshit, Mary Lou. And so now every time I say bullshit, my husband follows it up with a Mary Lou. And it's just like, it just automatically makes you think of them. You know what I mean? They're just like, just the simple things in life that make you think of them, and things that they, you know, molded you to be as an adult that they were already trying to mold you to be as a kid, you know, to listen, to take responsibility. School's important, you know, taught me to look both ways before crossing the street more than once. You know, my grandparents lived on kind of a main road. It was not a main road, but it was off of a main road. It was a very busy road. And we had a side street across the street that all the kids would play street hockey and all that stuff on. And that one was like a cul-de-sac at the end that people wouldn't really go down there unless you lived there. And so when I was little, it taught me how to look both ways before crossing the street multiple times so that I could go play street hockey or whatever sport we were playing with my friends. And I've taught my kids the same way my grandparents taught me. And it just like, it was almost like muscle memory, right? Like teaching my kids in the same way that they taught me. And I talk about them a lot to my kids. My oldest remembers my grandmother, never met my grandfather, but I talk about them a lot so that my kids get an idea of who they are, you know, and where they come from, you know. My grandparents adopted. They could never have kids. So my mother and my aunt were both separately adopted from, I think it was Catholic Charities back then. And so my grandparents decided on two daughters at separate times. They got my mother first, and then my aunt, I think like a year later, they got her. So they're from two separate families originally. But it was a very Catholic Irish family, and my mom was not Catholic Irish. She's Spanish and darker, obviously. And so it's just my grandparents they didn't, even back then, they didn't have, like, color wasn't in their eyes, you know. It's written in my mother's adoption papers when I went to try to help my mother find her original, you know, biological family, see if she had any brothers or sisters after my grandparents were gone. It's written in my mother's adoption paperwork that she requested like way back in the early 2000s. And it says that my grandmother reported bringing my mom to the doctors, and the doctor making a statement to my grandmother and grandfather that he thought it was strange that Catholic Charities would give a child that was brown to a white family. And my grandmother absolutely lost it on the doctor and was like, excuse you? Like, excuse you? And it's literally written in there. And I was like, if I didn't already think my grandmother was a G and the best person ever, like that just solidified it for me, you know, like even way back then, you know, when all of that was very prevalent, my grandparents were like, we're not playing that fucking game. Like, I remember it says in the adoption records that my grandfather and my grandmother connected with my mom as a baby right away, and they knew that that was the one they wanted to adopt and bring home. And same thing with my aunt. I think it was like a year and a half later, and my aunt was a little older when she was adopted. I think she was like almost 2. My mother was like a newborn. She was like, I think, a month old. But my aunt was closer to 2 when she was adopted. So just even reading some of that stuff, it sort of gave me an idea of like, well, my grandparents were even much younger than they were, you know, by the time I was born. And I try to pass along things that my grandparents raised me with to my kids. And sometimes I think it's that old soul and why my mind works different ways than people my own age. And I feel like it's because I was raised by my grandparents in a lot of the ways. So remember that this upcoming Mother's Day, folks. Speaking of Mother's Day, y'all remember your mothers, grandmothers, single dads, friends, whoever raised you. Remember that Mother's Day is a special day. And make sure that you check in on your friends and your family and your loved ones on Mother's Day, because not everybody really gets to go out or celebrate it. And it's always nice to hear from someone else, you know, like check in on people. That's what I do. I check in on all my single mom friends and send them a quick text and tell them Happy Mom's Day. And, you know, all my single dad friends, tell them the same thing. And, you know, and also if you're buying gifts for anybody this Mother's Day, you better get to gifting people. Otherwise, the only option you're going to have left by tomorrow is Amazon, because what's today? Wednesday? Tomorrow's Thursday. I forgot it was Mother's Day on Sunday until this morning. Okay, I literally forgot until this morning, and then I was like, "Oh shit, it's on Sunday!" Like what? My husband better go find something on my wish list. Find something. To be fair, I totally told him I want the mini fridge, but like I looked this morning, and even if he ordered it right now, it probably wouldn't be here in time. So that's not happening. It's not happening because he's not doing it until he gets paid tomorrow. I guarantee it. So that's not fucking happening. So he better pick a better secondary item. I'll let you guys know how the room service guy does on that aspect this year. He's good on every other aspect, so I guess we'll have to find out how he does for Mother's Day. All right, I'm gonna go attempt to I'm gonna go get some water and try to make some tea with some honey because I can feel this. And 2, I need to take some ibuprofen or something because my head is scorching and I am still hot and sweating. So I love your stinking faces. On your way out, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. I will obviously catch you guys in the morning. I don't know what time yet. Hopefully I wake up with a voice, fingers crossed. I'm going to do the tea, so hopefully we don't have a problem there in that aspect, but I can't say that my luck is amazing. So we'll just fingers crossed on that one. If you want to support the channel, there are many ways to do so. If you choose to support the channel and I'm not live anymore, we'll just read it, and I will say thank you, of course, as I did the other day when Rose donated on the next one. So tomorrow I'll just do my thank yous as I do. I appreciate y'all. All of the information is in the description of the video, along with any way to get in contact with me, email, Twitter, on DMs. You can get in contact with me either of those ways. The ways to support the channel are Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Amazon, Chime, Revolut, and our link here at the top. It's also in the description. You can use any credit or debit card for. I love y'all. I'm going to get some rest. I will see y'all in the morning. Everybody have an amazing day.